Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, I'll have a little taste.
Just a little taste, Mr. Reeves. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers, sir.
Cheers
Good to see you again.
Good to be seen.
Ha-ha. Woo! So, tell me, what the fuck is going on? How is it? How's things cracking? First of all, congratulations on being proved correct, and there are literally mammoth bones, bison bones, all kinds of bones in the East River.
Yes, sir.
You said on this podcast, Dirty Water Dan went out and looked for them. They found bones. They found multiple bones. It's real.
It's very real.
So the museum dumped bones that belong to your property
Yeah.
out there in the East River, and they're still out there for people to find. How many pounds were dumped?
50,
Roughly?
50 tons.
50 tons.
50.
50 tons.
And that was told to me by one of the guys that wrote that report that I read on your show.
Good Lord, that's a lot. I didn't know it was that many.
Yeah. Boxcar.
And they found how many bones so far?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I think Dirty Water Don and those guys found 3 so far.
Did I say Dan? Sorry.
It's either Dan or Don.
Dawn. I think is it Dirty Water Dan or Dirty Water Dawn? It's Dawn. Dirty Water Dawn.
That's
So
right.
that's a risky thing. The guy's diving in the East River.
Yeah.
That guy's.
Yeah. There's more guys out there, too.
How many guys are out there right now?
Don't know how many, but I know there's others out there that are making finds.
So are they using spotlights? Like, how are they seeing things at the bottom of the East River?
One is a research vessel.
A research vessel.
Yeah. And,
Whoa.
yeah, I'm in the gold mining industry, and we have a code that we don't talk about.
So this is one piece, and this is a jawbone, correct?
Yes, sir.
Of a steppe bison.
I believe so. I have never seen it. But I know that was one of the first things he found. He found some mammoth ivory.
Yeah, and he found another bone, right?
Yes, sir.
Like a
Looks like a leg bone
yeah.
right there. Yeah.
So this is his Instagram is Dirty Water Dawn on Instagram, and that's another bone that they found right there.
Yes, sir.
And so they know roughly the location, and it's kind of amazing that this stuff was dumped in, was it the 30s? When was this dumped?
In the 40s.
The 40s.
Yes, sir.
So this stuff was dumped. That's outrageous. That's an outrageous photograph. How dare you, Don? This stuff was dumped in the 40s, and to this day, like this is the first time that people have actually gone looking for things, correct?
Yes, sir.
So
It's been a dirty little secret for decades.
Well, proven true now.
Yeah, it sure has been.
The museum still continues to deny it, though, correct?
They won't talk to me.
Why won't they talk to you?
Well, when Drew and Elora and I and my wife went to New York a few years ago, they were supposed to meet with us, and they decided to have us stand out in the rain for 4 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
And they wouldn't meet with you?
No.
So you went all the way to New York to
Yes,
meet
sir.
with them?
Well, I went there to the Explorers Club to show the documentary. There was a screening of the documentary on the Boneyard.
And what did they just decide, that you're too problematic?
I think so, yeah.
Well, how are you problematic? I don't understand.
I'm problematic in many, many ways
I think you're great.
because I don't think they ever envisioned somebody like me owning this company.
Right. That's probably the problem.
Yeah.
The problem is you're honest.
To some degree, I'm a gold miner after all.
Yeah.
You know, Mark Twain said a miner's just a liar standing next to a hole in the ground.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
Mark Twain was the shit.
Yeah, wasn't he?
He really was. Boy, was that guy ahead of his time. You know, a lot of people credit him for being the first stand-up comedian.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because, you know, there's a stand-up comedy is a truly American art form. And it seems like Twain was the first guy to do it, because essentially what he would do is read his humorous works in front of people, and they would all laugh. So he would, you know, be playing to the crowd. And it was one of the first iterations of stand-up comedy was Mark Twain. And obviously he's a very funny guy.
Yeah.
Very insightful and humorous, and
Yeah.
so many great quotes from this one individual, you know?
Yeah.
So they left you in the rain, and then nobody has spoken to you since, or what?
They don't talk to me.
What are they afraid of? It's not even them. You got to think, this is all done in the 1940s. Everybody who did it is probably dead.
They just don't want to return the bones.
Oh, so they have more bones.
Oh, yeah, this is just the stuff they threw in the river is not even the good stuff. I don't know if you saw that little video I posted of their collecting techniques where they threw them in a big pile. No idea where they came from. It's
Wow.
on my Instagram.
So they just don't want to address it? So do you have lawyers involved? Like, what's going on so far?
Everybody's encouraged me to litigate this. I've been involved in litigation before, and I have a pretty good track record because I protect my property rights. I don't care if it's real property or intellectual property.
Well, this seems like they're going to have to. I mean, there's just too much pressure now. With the fact that they've actually found real bones in the East River, that there's no other way they could have gotten there. I mean, just how the hell else are you going to find a steppe bison bone in the fucking East River? It's clear that they dumped that stuff.
Oh, yeah. And they denied it at first. Check this out.
So it says
12 tons of ivory unearthed in a year.
Wow.
These are the fearsome reminders of a period when cavemen were not the only things girls had to look out for.
Wow.
That was AM.
Money isn't always so easy to find. Gold miners in Alaska loosening up the frozen earth found not gold but the treasures of past ages. A mammoth's tusk 9 feet long was just a part of the 12 tons of ivory unearthed in a year.
Wow.
These are the fearsome reminders of a period when cavemen were not the only things girls had to look out for.
It's hilarious. The way they talked back then was so strange. What a weird way to talk. Like, why they all choose to talk like that?
I don't know.
Very weird. It's like when they first heard themselves recorded, well, I would like to sound a little more fancy.
Anyways, that's their collecting techniques, and they sent everything. They weren't supposed to take all that stuff. They were only supposed to take bones of scientific value, and they were supposed to research every one they took, and they were supposed to, under the agreement I had with them, or my company, do a report annually on everything they took. And it was a tripartite agreement with the University of Alaska, AM&H, and my company, Fairbanks Exploration. And they didn't do any of it. And when I bought the company, I went to the University Museum, and the curator there, I said, I bet you know why I'm here. He goes, I think I do. I said, I want the bones back. He goes, let's go to New York City. Let's go get them. So we all went to New York City to get them. And they gave me a nice tour downstairs of the basement, and showed me the tons and tons they had down there. Hundreds and hundreds of mammoth tusks.
Really?
In those the wooden crates and everything else.
And what are they doing with them?
Nothing. They're supposed to do reports and research on them. They haven't done anything in 100 years.
So is it because they don't have the funding to do the work on them, and they just want to store them because they're pack rats? Like, what are they doing?
Well, they don't have the stratigraphic information about where that stuff comes from.
Oh, you have that.
I have all of that.
Yeah.
And one of the authors of that report I read last year was trying to get us together so we could make some sense out of this collection. And like Drew and I were talking earlier, it's like a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. I only got 20 pieces. I want the whole thing on the table, and we'll research all of it. Because the secrets to the extinction event are in those bones.
Yeah, it seems like it.
It is.
Well, let's talk about that, because one of the things that you have found is a layer of carbon, a layer of dark carbon that seems to indicate a mass fire.
Yes.
And that where the animals are, it's so unusual that there are so many bones in the same sort of layer that exist in one place.
Yep. That
something had to happen for them to all die in that one spot. And this is something that Randall Carlson has pointed out before. They found the other places where, I forget where the other places were. Was it Siberia, where they found massive amounts of mammoths that were all in one area that seemed to have died instantaneously? Some of them with like broken leg bones seemed to have died because of an impact or the force of the impact.
Well, like I told you last time, I think it's all secondary deposition from water. That because there's such a wide spectrum of them and very few mummified remains, although we found some this summer. And I think I told you last year that the oldest sample we took was 22,000 years old. And some people, I have that Ice Age Fossil Works buy little shards of ivory. And I told the one guy, I said, why don't you carbon date it if you want to know the story? So he sent it off to a lab and had it carbon dated, 40,000 years old.
Wow.
So there might be enough in there for 2 dryas events.
Which is probably likely.
Could have.
Yeah, what Randall and Graham Hancock, what they believe, and the Younger Dryas impact theory proponents believe, is that distinctly something around 11,800 years ago, and then maybe something also around 10,000 years ago. But that doesn't preclude or that doesn't dismiss the idea that there could have been 30,000 years, 40,000 years. It could have been multiple events.
Could have been.
Because of this time that we pass through this comet shower, It's every June and November, I believe.
And I've posted that picture before of the burnt bedrock and the gravel above it.
Yes. See if you can find that photo, Jamie, because that's fascinating too, because that seems to indicate that something massive happened.
Something did happen.
Yeah.
And the problem with this deposit, now, I got to be careful what I say after last time.
What would you do?
When I was here with you last time,
Did you get crazy? What'd you say?
I'm afraid I bullshitted you a little bit.
In what way?
Because when I got back to Fairbanks, my surveyor comes up to me. His name's Albert. He says, "You got a lot of nerve bullshitting them like that." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You told him the site that you dug all these up in is 5 acres." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "It's 2.1 acres."
Oh.
Okay, I'm going to tell him I'm sorry. So, Joe,
It's even small. Well,
I apologize.
that's actually even more insane, right? So do you think that this is like the water had washed these bodies into a very specific area?
I think there's a bigger system of water in play that we don't really understand yet. When we started going up the gulch, it's what it is a gulch, and it's about, well, the way I can describe it, it's sure is narrow, but it sure is long. So this year we decided, let's go back to the beginning, and we moved the pump and everything back down to where we started 15, 16 years ago, thinking, okay, let's see how wide this is. As soon as we started doing it, we started finding more tusks, more animal parts, more of everything. And we found those crazy sawed bones.
Yeah, the crazy sawed bones are very interesting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that, because we've showed photos on the podcast before, and that these sawed bones, now you have carbon dated them, and they're to when? Here they are.
Yeah. You're not going to believe this, because we got all excited when we found them.
Yeah.
Plus or minus 200 years. They're 190 years.
So what kind of animal are these from?
I don't know.
But they're 200 years old.
190. Here, I brought one with me.
Oh, really?
This is the story about how these were found. Is I got a call one day. I was out there at the boneyard. My daughters have a tourist business around the corner a little bit called Gold Daughters. And Elora called me up and goes, "Dad, there's a state trooper over here wanting to talk to you." And I look around my truck to see what I got in it. I said, "Okay, I'll be right over." I go over. And we had some stuff going on at the time. And I didn't think there was any reports filed anyplace. But I go over there and introduce myself to this guy, and his name's Eric Spitzer. He's the head state trooper in Fairbanks. He says, "I was just out in the neighborhood. I wanted to come by and introduce myself. I saw you on Joe Rogan's podcast. I love fossils. I love what this is all about. It's my kids like to look for bones, and I take them out in the woods and we look for stuff, and I just wanted to come by and introduce myself." And the excitement in is just him talking to me. I said, "Well, follow me over. I'll go show it to you right now." So we went over to the boneyard. He got out and he looked around. He just couldn't believe it. He picked up some bone parts. I said, "Well, now you're a boner. You just got to find one." And we bullshit a little bit. He goes, "Do you mind if I bring my kids out sometime?" I said, "Bring them out this weekend. We'll fire the pumps up. I'll turn you guys loose, and then we'll come check on you once in a while." And they found a pallet or two full of bones, little fragments, leg bones, and then they came back the next weekend. They found a mammoth tusk, and they found these sawed bones, a few of them. We got 15 of them now that they found. And so I told everybody those bones are now called the Spitzer finds. His two little young daughters found them. Sometimes it just takes a new set of eyes. I don't know how many of those we've picked up in the past, but we never looked at it that way. So I brought one with me.
All right.
This is the one that I carbon dated.
And so this is the one that's 200 plus years old.
Right. Now you see that notch right there? That's what I cut out to send in to get carbon dated.
And so this is, this is some sort of a joint. Is that a femur? Is it the top of a femur?
The lady, Jeanette Rhymes, a Dakota huntress, she thinks it's a moose leg bone. But set it on its end there, other end.
Okay.
Now, 200 years ago, what kind of utility would that have to do that?
What kind of utility to do that?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
The people that did that, why would they have a bone like that?
I would imagine to get to the marrow.
Yeah, but then what?
You eat it.
maybe a candle, maybe some marrow to.
Well, I would imagine they're eating the marrow because
They are eating the marrow.
People have always eaten the marrow, and that's how they do it. I mean, if you get marrow now, that's how you do it.
But I think there's some utility to that bone, is what I'm saying.
Yeah?
Just the way it sits. You could have put fire embers in it to keep, overnight. Because this was 200 years ago.
Yeah.
This was 100 years before Fairbanks was discovered. This is even more of a mystery to me.
So is this Russians? It's obviously it's owned by Russia.
It's about the same time frame, yeah. Russians owned Alaska. And, it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't go up. They founded Anchorage in the late 1700s.
I think the utility of it is just a coincidence, honestly, because it doesn't look like it's been worked at the bottom.
Nope.
No?
No, I agree with you. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. None of us know.
I mean, I'm sure they have used some of these before like that for something. But if I had to guess, I would guess that this is just something that they did to get at the marrow where all the good fat is,
Maybe they had some vodka and they poured it in there.
Perhaps.
I don't know.
They probably had some kind of metal cups back then.
Well, those two little you just showed, they look like cups to me.
They could have been. They certainly could be some sort of a thing that you could drink out of. It's certainly the right size for a good shot of vodka.
Yep.
But so were there supposedly people living in that area back then? No.
Is right. Because up till now, the dating sequences have been 3,000 before present to now it's 40,000 years before present. That puts it up to 200 years before present.
Which is interesting.
It is interesting.
So what do you think is going on?
I have no idea.
Does anybody have a theory?
There's probably a lot of theories. But that's the whole point about all this stuff. Nobody knows.
Well, at least we know you didn't come up with evidence that the saw is older than 5,000 years old, which is one of the things that we're thinking.
Which is, I was hoping that was going to be the case.
Yeah, that would have been wild.
And when I got the carbon dates, I'm going, damn it. But thinking about it, though, it's even more of an interesting thing.
How much of a recorded history do we have of that area from 200 years ago? None. So was it mostly like, have you ever seen that Werner Herzog documentary, Happy People, Life in the Taiga? It's about people who live in Siberia right now to this day, and they live this incredibly primitive life. Really all they have is snowmobiles and some hand tools and maybe some chainsaws. And most of what they do is just living off the land, trapping, fishing, hunting. That's it.
Yep.
And they're very low instances of mental illness. Everybody's very happy. All these communities of these people living together, just surviving, living off the land, subsistence lifestyle. But I don't think there's much historical record on those people. The people that are alive there right now, if they were to die off 200 years from now, what evidence is there of them? Other than you might find some stuff that they did. You might find some trees they cut down or some logs or whatever's going to be around still 200 years from now that'll be preserved.
Yep. Well, we did find a skinning rock across the valley on top of a hill that still don't know how old that is or where that's from.
Skinning rock.
The skinning rock is posted there.
And it's been worked, so it's been
there's
fluted.
even a little indent on the side for your finger as you flesh something out.
And what is it made out of?
Stone from Eastern Europe. Remember we talked a little bit about
right. That's right.
and it wasn't local.
Right.
So there was a lot of traveling, migrating going on across that Bering Land Bridge because it was ice-free corridor.
Yeah.
And it went all the way into the lower 48. So there's a lot of stuff that we find, as I said last time, that they say didn't live there, but it sure died there.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What different animals did they say didn't live there that you personally and your company has found evidence of?
Dire wolves being one of them. Saber-tooth being another one. I found one, and my company found one before I was around. Sent them to New York City. I asked to see them, but they didn't have them available. And let's see what else we got. Badgers, elk.
And they didn't think they were around back then?
No.
Why did they not think that elk were in that area back then? Because elk are in Alaska.
Because they never found any elk bones.
Right. But that's it. It's just they didn't find the bones.
They didn't find the bones.
But they literally didn't think that saber-toothed tigers lived in that area.
They didn't think that. In fact, in that documentary film, Pat Druckenmiller, who's the curator now and the director of the museum, says to their knowledge, none of them have ever been found there.
Wow.
But to my knowledge, they have been, because on a shipping manifest to AM&H, that one was sent to them. The one I found was stolen by the British Museum, never returned. So I'm on kind of a little bit of a rampage these days about the museums and what they're doing with these collections. It's kind of a one man thing. It's a cause. I think it's important.
Well, I think it is important because these museums are run by these academics, and academics, unfortunately, some of them tend to be very arrogant, and they want to be able to control whatever narrative they have or whatever information they have, and they don't want to be open about it.
No. And the AM&H is a private institution, but the Smithsonian is a public entity that's owned by us. So they answer to a different set of rules. The Smithsonian has to respond to a FOIA request. AM&H says, what are you going to do? Sue us. We'll stump break you.
What does that mean?
Bend you over a log and we'll break you.
Oh, with money?
With money, with lawyers, with all that litigation costs.
Why don't we fucking crowdfund something?
Well, because I have another plan.
Oh.
This is a plan's going to work.
Okay.
I have people in our state legislature working on this right now. There's a senator named Click Bishop who's on the finance committee. He's on the resources committee. He's the majority whip, and he's making efforts to get the bones back to Alaska from the state of Alaska. Now, AM&H might be able to take on John Reeves and stump break me, but they can't do it to the state of Alaska. The state of Alaska go toe-to-toe with them some bitches. Now, after we get that through the House and state legislature, the Senate and the House, we'll go to the congressional delegation. You've heard what an act of Congress is, don't you? You know what that is.
Sure.
AM&H, give them their goddamn bones back. And AM&H is going to see the light. This is a political solution to this. Not lawyers, not all that stuff. I got nothing to gain from this. I'm just trying to get them back in Alaska so we have that 1,000-piece puzzle to put together. They were supposed to be studied and researched, and the answers to the extinction event are within the bones.
And so you've never been given any explanation as to why they haven't done this research?
They didn't feel like it.
They just didn't feel like it. Is it because they don't have the resources, or it just wasn't a priority for them, and this was all done from the 1940s, and there's no reason for them to go back and take that stuff and reenact the research or begin the research?
It's impossible for them to come up with any scientific research because they don't have the stratigraphic information. They don't even know where it was found.
Right.
But I do. Let's put it all together, boys, and then we'll study it.
I just don't understand why they wouldn't want to do that. That seems to me an incredible opportunity to attain enlightenment on an area that's fascinating.
Yep.
I mean, have any academics reached out to you after the podcast?
Not that I know of.
How not? How not? I mean, me just finding your Instagram page, I was like, Jesus Christ, like, how does this guy have all these bones? Like, this is crazy. What is this place? This place seems like, what an amazing, fortunate find that you guys have this one spot, 2.1 acres, and probably a whole lot more around that area that you just haven't uncovered yet, that has this incredible wealth of bones.
It's amazing.
It's fucking incredible.
Yep. And that's why that cut bone, by the way, I noticed you don't have a Spitzer bone out there in your lobby.
What's a Spitzer bone?
That's what we call the Spitzer bones.
Oh, yeah.
You ain't got one of those in your lobby?
No, I don't.
I'm going to fix that shit.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We do have the step bison head,
I saw it out there. It looks nice where it's sitting.
We're trying to figure out how to display it. I think I'm going to have a stand built and just have it sit out there.
I've got people going, oh, he needs to get a Cadillac and mount it on the hood. Well, yeah,
that's not a bad idea.
as long as you don't drive it around.
Once I get a ranch out here, I'll do that. I'll put it on the ranch truck.
There you go.
But I think that's not good.
That could
needs to be
preserved. The Blue Bay bison was 38,000 years old. And that's, they could have known each other back in the day.
Well, it looks old as fuck.
It is old as fuck.
Yeah. What an amazing, amazing spot you have. Do you ever stop and just think how insane it is?
I do, when I have people like Eric Spitzer and his daughters show up, and they're just, the happiness, they're just so gleeful.
Yeah.
And sometimes I need to see that to remember that what we're doing is kind of worthwhile.
No, it's very worthwhile.
It means that people enjoy it, and they like seeing it, and they like doing it, and we just haven't figured out a way to let everybody do it.
Well, it just seems to me that this is an extraordinary opportunity to gain some understanding.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't understand why these universities or someone hasn't reached out to you and said, hey, we need to really have a full-scale investigation, find out what happened here. This is an extraordinary place. And it may unlock a lot of pieces to this puzzle as to what happened to humanity. There's clearly some indication that we have a very limited understanding of the history of human beings in terms of what took place, where we're starting to uncover these immense structures that seem to indicate that people had very complex construction methods many thousands of years before we thought they were capable of doing that. Many thousands.
Yeah.
Göbekli Tepe, which is buried 11,000 plus years ago, back when they thought people were hunter-gatherers. And that's just what we found. And that now they've done through LiDAR, that whole area around Göbekli Tepe, they found tons of these things. They're all over the place out there.
Yeah.
And that's how many more of these spots are there on Earth that we just haven't found yet?
Who knows?
Who knows? And your area where that have they done a core sample where they've gone through that carbon layer to find out like what year that all took place yet?
No.
Wow. That seems
And it's partially my fault because I tell everybody, look, until we get our bones back from the bowels of the AMNH, nothing's going to get studied. If they want to do this and continue doing this, they can deal with Drew out there because we're not going to just say, okay, we'll study 20 pieces of this 1,000-piece puzzle. We're just two guys with one giant. My company had 200 giants running at the same time for over 40 years. Recovered tens of thousands and thousands of bones, all of which were taken to New York. 50 tons of which were dumped at least one time in the East River, and maybe more than that.
Now, why did they dump those in the East River? They just needed the storage?
I don't know.
They just had an abundance of them.
They had so many of them, and they said, nobody's going to give us any money for this. I have an idea. That's a good cover story for making sure your wealthy donors get a little something and getting them off the books.
Oh, so some of them they dumped and some of them they gave away.
I would think.
I would imagine.
Museums aren't money-making institutions.
Right.
And so I think a lot of the times they get something donated, especially when there's no control at all. There was no control on this, what was going on.
Sort of like when we send money to Ukraine.
Okay.
It's going all over the place.
Yeah, why aren't we sending money to Maui?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I've said that many times.
$100 billion to Ukraine. We could have built a gas line from the North Slope to the lower 48 and a water line from southeast Alaska to Northern California and took care of the people in Maui.
Yeah.
And still have some change left over.
Yeah, a lot of change.
But no,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It is. It is. And that's, it seems like what's happening with your bones and your property and the lack of, and I don't want to say if it's a lack of interest. I'm sure they're interested, but the lack of action. It's symbolic of a lot of the problems that we have in our society today.
Mismanagement, man.
Massive and a confederacy of dunces that are running the show.
Yeah, they are. And seemingly they don't care what we think.
No. Well, that's, they have too much on their plate. Why are they going to talk about some fucking dude in Alaska who's out of his mind, blowing water into the side of permafrost, pulling out all kinds of crazy skulls?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think, I'm in business, you're in business. We have a divided Congress. We got half, a little bit more than half, that think this president we got should be impeached. We got the other lower, a little bit less than half, not one of them think he should be impeached. So my belief as a business guy is as long as they're fucking with each other, they're not fucking with me. They're leaving us alone.
Right.
And that's kind of what's going on right now.
Boy. Imagine that being the best case scenario in 2023 with all the information that we have today, with AI, with ChatGPT 4.0, soon to be 5, with all the technology we have available, all the understanding that we have available, and we're still just want everybody to just leave us alone. That's the best case scenario.
It's just they stay busy with themselves and we want to do what we want.
Yeah, it's better than them helping us.
Yeah, we don't want it.
Yeah.
But if the other part is I don't want to let my bones leave Alaska.
Right, of course.
They never seem to come back.
Right, I wouldn't trust them anymore.
Nope.
And the British Museum, like, have they given any sort of an explanation of what they did with that saber-toothed tiger skull?
No.
Somebody's probably got that in their living room.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. By George, look what I have here.
Oh, my.
I made a sizable donation to the museum, and they gifted me with this wonderful saber-toothed tiger skull.
In that case, I think the guy never even got back to the museum. I think he just took it home.
Mm.
You know, he was working for him, but they're a bunch of, it's like we don't sell bones from the boneyard. We don't sell bones. We've given some bones away. That's because I own them. I can give them away. They didn't own them. You know, museums don't own them.
So they were supposed to research them? What were they supposed to do? There it is. Saber-toothed tiger skull. Wow. $1 million at auction.
Yeah.
Wow. That's 2019. I know a guy who has one of those. And he's a very wealthy guy. And he actually has a real saber-toothed tiger skull on his desk in a plexiglass case.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just like that. I think that's how he got it. I think he got it at an auction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did he get to the auction?
Good question,
Yeah.
right? It's probably yours. He probably bought yours.
Mine wasn't that good looking. That was a good looking skull.
That's a good looking skull. Yeah, his is a good looking skull as well. His is fully intact.
Yeah. No, mine wasn't that good.
How many of them do they have that are fully intact out there in the wild?
Well,
floating around?
La Brea, there's a lot of them at La Brea tar pits, I
Yeah.
believe. Alaska's you keep it in perspective. I'm down here, your neck of the woods. There's probably 200,000 or 300,000 more people live in this city of Austin than live in the entire state of Alaska.
Mm.
The whole state.
Yeah.
I mean, yesterday, Drew and I were going, hey, let's drive out and look at the farms and the countryside. We drove for 2 hours. We couldn't get out of town. We ended up at the airport every time. But there's a lot of building going on over last year.
Yeah.
Seems
This
like
place
there's a
is
whole
booming.
lot. Yeah, it is.
It's now the 10th largest city in the country. It's a little tiny ass city at one point in time.
Not anymore.
No. It's blowing up.
When are you guys going to get a football team?
It's a good question. I don't know.
I don't know how that shit works. But
I don't know how that shit works either, but boy, they love football out here.
Houston's got one. Dallas got one.
I went to the UT game. It's massive. Boy, the college team out here, holy shit.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep.
Wild. It's like a religion out here. Football is nuts out here.
Yep. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's a fucking cool place to live, too.
Yeah, it's awesome. So we looked around and said, oh, let's just look around a little bit more. Saw parts of Austin that probably are not on the beaten track. But, hey, I thought, well, let's drive down to the border and see if we get kicked out of Mexico. He goes, it's 485 miles. I said, we ain't going.
Yeah, it's a haul. I've gone down to South Texas to do some hunting. And the place that I went to, they actually found a dead migrant on their property. And he said it's not uncommon. That it happens quite often. Poor guys get lost and trying to make their way across and run out of water. And they do it in July and just die out there, unfortunately.
Well, I don't blame the people for wanting to come here.
At all. No.
My family, we all came from Europe.
Mine did too.
And it's just it doesn't seem to be any management of what's going on.
Seems to be the opposite of management.
Yeah.
Seems like a concerted effort to flood the country.
It sure does.
And not just this country. It seems like it's happening all over Europe. It's real weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird time. Because this is the only time in my life that I've ever wondered, really, really wondered, and seriously considered the fact that there's some puppet masters that are slowly orchestrating the collapse of civilization.
You talked about AI. Well, someday, and probably not too far in the future, you'll be able to do your podcast without even being here. AI will have you sitting there, have me sitting here, and we'll be guessing what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, no shit.
AI is going to be able to do a really good job of recreating the kind of conversations that we've had, but they're not going to be able to really recreate human stupidity. I don't understand what happens when people get drunk. I don't think AI is going to be able to recreate Protect Our Parks. I don't think they're not gonna, there's certain aspects of just genuine human chaos that AI I don't think is ever going to grasp because it doesn't have a soul.
And the other thing is you don't know if what you just saw is real.
Right. That's a real problem now.
That is a real problem because right now the stuff you say, it can't be real.
Yeah.
But it is real. Wait till they get AI going.
It's already going. I mean, I think what we're seeing right now is just really the tip of the iceberg of their capabilities. And I wonder, I had Sam Altman on, who is he was the head dog at OpenAI, and they kicked him out and they brought him back in. And there's some sort of weird explanation of why they kicked him out. And they were saying that he wasn't forthcoming about something. And the concern is that this artificial intelligence has reached sentience. Like, it can think for itself. It can act on its own. It can create things. It literally is a life form now.
Ugh.
It's going to be.
Yeah.
It's going to be at one point in time an artificial life form. Has it done it already? It's very possible.
I've been thinking, the speed of light was always the standard growing up. Nothing faster than the speed of light. Then I thought, there is something faster than that. It's the speed of thought. We can think faster than that light can travel. I'll give you an example of that. I saw it online. Has to be true. There's 200 billion trillion stars in the known galaxy. That's not just some guy making that shit up. That's a real smart person that's done the studies on this universe.
Yeah.
200 billion trillion galaxies. Or stars. How many planets would that be if they averaged 5 apiece?
Yeah.
That's a bunch.
That's a bunch.
That's such a massive thing to think about. There's no point in even thinking about it. It's by me. I just want to go pick up bones at the boneyard.
Well, then it goes deeper than that. Well, there's a couple ways it goes deeper than that. First of all, in the center of every galaxy is a supermassive black hole that I think it's, 1/2 of the mass of the entire galaxy that's in something along those lines. It's so the larger the galaxy, the larger the supermassive black hole. And there's real speculation that if you went through that black hole, you reach another universe with also hundreds of billions of galaxies, each with hundreds of billions of stars. Each one of those galaxies has a supermassive black hole. You go through that, another universe. Hundreds of billions of galaxies, hundreds of billions of black holes. You go through them, hundreds of billions of galaxies, new universes everywhere. And then there's dimensions. This is the real speculation when people start talking about UAPs and alien life, and there's two thoughts. One thought, well, there's more than two thoughts. One thought is that they are us from the future. Another thought is they are us from their people, their things, their intelligent life forms, maybe even artificial intelligence, something that has been created from other galaxies that is physically transported here. And then the other thought is there's interdimensional travel, that there are beings from somewhere that are capable of visiting this dimension that we exist in, but they exist in something, so they are here all the time. They're just here in a way that we have no ability to access them, but they can access us.
And time, and I've heard you say this, it's something we made up.
Right.
There's no such thing as time.
Right. This is the only time right now.
Yeah, it's gone already.
Yep.
It was here, it's gone.
Right.
Now, you talk about, it'd be nice.
What is this, Jamie?
Quick animation NASA made to give you a size reference, if you will.
Okay.
It starts with the middle thing is the sun, our sun. And I think these are different supermassive black holes.
Right.
They're small, obviously. I'm going to try to speed it up so it doesn't take too long. Let me go 2 speed. This is the orbit of Mercury. There's one there. It gets really big here really quick, though.
So these are other supermassive black holes that are just in our galaxy?
Yeah, there's the Milky Way. Asteroid belt just went away. Watch how it speeds up here. Here comes a big one outside of the solar system.
What the fuck?
Hold on. Bigger one. And wait for the big one.
Oh, my God.
So that one's just sitting out there. Tons 618.
Wow.
And I guess in theory then, yeah, all of that times 2, or I don't know how big, is inside that. Like reverse? I don't know.
Yeah, go inside that, and you find another universe. Yeah. Which is weird that like the universe is so big we can't even wrap our head around it, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is not even a good way to describe it. It's a grain of sand.
Yep.
Maybe it's not even a grain of sand. Maybe it's an atom. Maybe it's not even an atom. Maybe it's a subatomic particle. And maybe the whole thing is fractal. So maybe what we are and what this planet is. I mean, I'm sure you've seen when they look at, have you ever seen the a map of the known universe in comparison to a neuron in the human brain?
Mm-mm.
See if you can find that. It's entirely possible that it's just constantly, if you constantly expand further and further out, that this entire universe is an atom. It's a part of a much larger organism that exists in another universe that is infinitely large, that is impossible for us to grasp our head around. So that's a brain cell, and that's galaxies. And when you look at that, I mean, goddamn, those things look the same. They look the same. Neural network and the cosmic web, they look the same. And if they are the same, if that is what a brain cell is, and that the entire universe is a part of the brain of an infinitely large individual that's a part of a civilization that also exists in another universe that's a part of an infinitely large being, that's a brain cell of that universe is a brain cell of that thing, and that it just keeps going and going and going and going. And even the idea of the Big Bang is just like, maybe not. Maybe it's always been here. Maybe it's just constant. And maybe it's God. Maybe the whole thing.
Maybe those people, aliens, whatever you want to call it, visited Earth about 65, 75 million years ago, and they said, hey, no life like us can live here with these dinosaurs running around.
Yeah.
Let's burn this sumbitch down.
It could be.
And poof.
It could be that's just how it's sort of designed. That the thing is designed to, like, the only reason for us to advance and the only reason for us to create civilization is that you can't live where you are without structure. You can't live where you are without agriculture. You can't live where you are without controlling resources. And so then as they fight off the predators, they develop better weapons. As they fight off the Mongol hordes, they develop better methods of protecting civilization and societies. And it just keeps expanding further and further and further. All of it to encourage technological innovation. And that without that strife, without the problem, like with the problems that we have in the world today, what if they didn't exist? Everyone's like, oh, we'd have utopia. But would we? Would we? I don't know. I mean, it seems like we're designed for chaos. We're designed for constant struggle. And maybe that's like an engine to further encourage innovation and to further encourage society to progress further and further. And that you have to battle against these evil forces. You have to battle against incompetent government. Otherwise, you have no motivation to do better.
Well, I think the pandemic was brought on a whole series of mental disorders in this country.
Oh, yeah.
In this world. We're getting set up for it again, probably.
Yeah.
And you were talking once about quiet desperation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that were worried. I was worried. You know, I have a family when all that started going on. Going, oh, no.
Yeah.
I want to protect my family if I can. I can't. Nobody can. Not when they're making viruses in labs. For what reason?
Right.
Why would you make that virus?
Right.
You know, it's crazy.
Right. Why are you making them more infectious, more dangerous, more deadly? Why are you taking viruses that were never designed to infect humans and didn't exist in the human population, and you're engineering them? Why? So you can study them? So you can get research money? Like, what are you doing?
Maybe that virus is designed to make people go crazy.
I'm sure there are.
You know, just make them go nuts. Kind of
Right.
like what's going on.
Right.
We got shit going on. You know, talking about planet killers. We can kill this planet right now if we want. If all the triggers get pulled and all the
Oh, yeah.
many times over.
Yep.
That's where we're at. It's unfortunate that we have to live like that and think about that. We shouldn't be thinking about that.
No.
We shouldn't be.
No, we shouldn't be. But
But we are.
But again, maybe that's part of the design of how the human race evolves, that it has to go through these things in order to have an incentive to restructure things and get better. I don't know. The problem is also our personal timeline of being a human being is so limited, so short, that by the time you realize how fucked everything is, it's sort of the end of your ride.
Yep.
By the time you really, have you ever read War is a Racket by Smedley Butler?
No.
It's a great piece that was written by a guy who was a general, it was in the 1930s, and at the end of his career, he wrote this piece called War is a Racket, and what he thought he was doing versus what the motivation for these military actions actually were. See if you can find that, Jamie. And it's a very famous piece that was written by Smedley Butler. War is a Racket. The book's not very long, but this is a great quote. War is a racket. It's always been. It's possibly the oldest, easily the most profitable, surely the most vicious. It's the only international in scope. The only one international in scope. It's the only one in which profits are reckoned in dollars and the losses in lives. And he wrote this very long piece explaining all the military campaigns that he was involved in and what they were really about. It was about making things, protecting bankers, protecting investments of oil companies, and all the different things that what he thought they were and what they really were. I spent 33 years in active military service, and during that period, I spent most of my time as a high-class muscle man for big business, for Wall Street, and for bankers. In short, I was a racketeer, a gangster for capitalism. And he wrote that in 1935.
Wow.
Yeah, and he had figured it out by the end of his tenure. When he was looking back at his career, it's like, Jesus Christ, I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was protecting the world.
You get so many years, and like we've made it both around one more trip around the sun since I saw you last time.
Yeah,
and woolly mammoths had a built-in escape. You get 6 sets of teeth. When the last set is gone, you starve to death.
Yeah.
Real simple.
Real simple. That's the wild.
Yeah.
The wild is a built-in system.
And our ancestors, that were living with us, and I'll say this because I know, they were living with us back in the Ice Age. And they weren't working against us, and we weren't working against them. All that we wanted to do was survive from one day to the next.
Because it was so brutal.
And that's all they wanted to do.
Yeah.
I went off on this a little bit recently about the way that we portray mammoths being the extinction caused by humans. I'm going, no, you got it all wrong. We live with them side by side for tens of thousands of years. What if we kind of lived together? What if we went out and collected their wool and made clothing? What if we didn't run them off cliffs? I've seen the spear tips. You're not going to stick that through 5 inches of fur, 3 inches of skin, leather, to hit a vital organ in a woolly mammoth thrown by a guy from me to Jamie. First of all, you're not going to get that close. It'll stomp the shit out of you. Woolly mammoths have 10, 12-foot tusks. They just don't stand there going, oh, stick a spear in me. They're swinging their head and they're cleaning stuff out. The short-faced bears knew better. Short-faced bear will go after a baby mammoth, but not a big woolly mammoth. I think they were kind of like domesticated to some degree. That's the same thing with muskoxen. I talked to Matt Slingsby up there in Nome about this. And he spends a lot of time out there with the muskoxen. He sees how they protect their young.
Yeah.
I can see kind of us living with those guys, domesticate them to some degree. Hey, you leave us alone, we'll leave you alone, but let's work together. We didn't always stick spears in them. All the paintings you see now, even prints online, shows this caveman sticking a spear in a mammoth. I call bullshit on that. And you know why I can do that? Because nobody can say you're full of shit. Because they don't know either.
No, it's a lot of speculation. And until the Younger Dryas impact theory, the main theory as to the extinction event was the berserker theory, that human beings had become such effective hunters. And by the way, this preceded the invention of the bow and arrow. This was the atlatl. Mm-hmm. So, which is essentially like a better method of throwing a spear. Like I have this thing that I throw the ball for with my dog.
Yeah, we got one of those.
You know what I mean? It's like a cup at the end of it and a long stick, and it allows you to whip that ball really far with leverage. And they had something along those lines that they would throw a spear with. And you probably could kill some young mammoths with that. You definitely could kill some bison with that.
And caribou.
You can kill some stuff, but kill them all? No, I
No.
don't think so either. I think it was an impact event.
There were very few people in the Ice Age, anyways. Very few. They didn't travel in groups of 100 or 200. I don't think we'd have found evidence of that. But if your choice is to go, let's go knock over that caribou over there, or let's go over there to that woolly mammoth and half of us get killed. What do you say, boys? Well, first of all, you can go kill that caribou, skin it, gut it, and eat it for a few days. Meat won't go bad.
Right.
You knock over a woolly mammoth with 2,500 pounds of meat, you ain't going to eat very much before it all goes bad.
Yeah.
And, we have a woolly mammoth brain in one of our permafrost tunnels.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We're way ahead on this frozen DNA stuff. We formed we have permafrost tunnels. They stay frozen year round. There's no electricity. There's no cost to it. It just stays frozen. And that's what you have to do with DNA material, keep it frozen. So you find something substantial, you put it in one of the tunnels. We'll come back to that later. We'll get that later.
So you have the brain that's inside of the skull?
No, it's outside the skull.
Really?
Yeah, it was found frozen. And we've had paleontologists.
How is it outside the skull?
Probably the woolly mammoth got ripped apart, and the brain got frozen into the gravel and the muck.
How intact is it?
Half of it's there.
Wow.
And the paleontologists.
You got a photo of this thing?
I don't know if I posted one or not. I'll have to look.
That's pretty intense.
It is. I think I got one. If not, I'll ask you if he's got one.
There's a company in Dallas that's going to supposedly bring them back. You know about this?
Mm-hmm.
They have I think an Indian elephant which has a large percentage of the DNA that a woolly mammoth has, and then they're going to splice that with whatever DNA they have of woolly mammoths, and they're going to recreate woolly mammoths. How far away are we from Jurassic Park? How far away are we from some asshole putting a fucking dinosaur in Costa Rica?
Those guys were all up in Fairbanks, the ones you're talking about. Brought them out to the boneyard and showed them some of the stuff we got. Now I'll go out on a limb here. This ain't about cloning woolly mammoths. This is about cloning humans.
And so you think they're trying to do it effectively with woolly mammoths first?
I think they're already doing the humans. We just don't know about it because of the ethical issues it brings up.
Yeah, I've always said that if the moment they tell you they can clone humans, the person telling you is probably a clone. By the time they tell us...
All I know is that some of my DNA material is in that permafrost tunnel.
Mm.
And with instructions, if down the road somebody in the family wants to bring the old man back, I'm your huckleberry.
Well, they're doing it right now with human pets.
Yeah.
With people's pets. You can get your cat cloned. You can get your dog cloned.
Get your horse cloned.
Yeah.
Race horses.
Ooh.
Dolly, sheep.
Yeah.
I think Dolly was the first one.
Yeah. Well, there was a group called the Second Coming Project. It was a while back where they were trying to use DNA material from the Shroud of Turin to clone Jesus.
Jesus H. Christ?
That guy. I think, though, the Shroud of Turin has been proven to be fraudulent, and that it's, I believe it's only 500 years old. So it's not really Jesus's image that was in the cloth. And it looks fake. You ever seen the Shroud of Turin?
I've seen pictures of it.
Looks a little hokey.
Yeah.
Looks like what someone 500 years ago would make. Look, I found Jesus's covering. This is what he died in. There it is right there. Yeah.
That looks like a guy I saw just outside the hotel last night.
Yeah, that looks like, when they find, like, the Virgin Mary in a fucking grilled cheese sandwich.
Yep.
Shroud of Turin. Okay. Is a length of linen cloth that bears a faint image of the front and the back of a man, has been venerated for centuries, especially by members of the Catholic Church, as the actual burial shroud used to wrap the body of Jesus of Nazareth after his crucifixion, and upon which Jesus' bodily image is miraculously imprinted. The human image on The shroud can be discerned more clearly in a black and white photographic negative than in its natural sepia color, an effect discovered in 1898 by Secondo Pia, who produced the first photographs of the shroud. This negative image is associated with the popular Catholic devotion to the holy face of Jesus. The shroud's authenticity as a holy relic has been disputed even within the Catholic Church, and radiocarbon dating has shown it to be medieval artifact, with the main image created via prolonged differential exposure of a prepared fabric to bright sunlight. So the documented history of the shroud dates back to 1354 when it's exhibited in the New Collegiate Church of Liry, a village north of France. The shroud was denounced as a forgery by the Bishop of Troyes in 1389. It was acquired by the House of Savoy in 1453 and later deposited in a chapel in Chambéry, where it was damaged by fire in 1532 and 1578. The Savoys moved the shroud to their new capital in Turin, where it has remained ever since. So what was the years that they found it? Yeah, it is. Scroll down a little bit. In 1988, radiocarbon dating by 3 different laboratories established the shroud's linen material was produced between the years 1260 and 1390. To a 95% confidence level. Defenders of the authenticity of the shroud have questioned those results, usually on the basis that the samples tested might have been contaminated or taken from a repair of the original fabric. Yeah. But imagine if that's how Jesus comes back. I mean, the whole idea is that Jesus is eventually going to come back when the shit's hit the fan. Like, okay, guys, I'll let you try it on your own forever, but now I'm back. I mean, what better time for Jesus to come back when they've figured out a way to fucking make humans out of DNA? That would be a good time for Jesus to go, whoa, 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 whoa. Slow down. Don't you guys have bigger problems?
Yeah, our site is called Clone Fathers, and we haven't done a lot with it because it's emerging technology, let's say. But can you imagine raising your own clone?
Imagine raising a little you.
I'd have to put it in a bag and throw it into the river.
I wouldn't know what to teach it. Because I would want it, if it was going to be me, it would have to make all the fucking mistakes that I've made. And I would try to tell it, hey, don't do that. Mm-hmm. But you can't, because it has to make those mistakes in order to really appreciate the negative consequences of those actions.
Yeah, your folks were telling you don't do that, and you did it anyway.
They weren't telling me shit, which is why I did it. I was the lock key kid, which is probably how I turned out the way I am. But the baby, if I had a baby me and I was raising it, I wouldn't raise it that way. I'd bring it to the best schools. I'd take care. I'd give it hugs all the time.
Yeah.
I'd give it all this love. It would have no motivation to be the kind of person that I am today, who was motivated at least in part by neglect.
Well, you've done quite well, and congratulations on being the most widely watched podcast on the face of this planet.
If that's not reason for the aliens to land, I don't know what is.
No, you're bringing a lot of needed information to the world. You really are.
Well, all I'm doing is going after what I'm curious about. That's all I'm doing. All I'm doing is approaching and engaging with things that I'm curious about. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the whole. It's this whole thing is run basically with 3 people and my iPhone. Literally.
Yeah.
I don't. There's no one's telling me who to have on or what to do, and you know that because how you and I have booked these podcasts.
Yeah.
Just you and me text messaging.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you doing? Come on back.
I loved it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
It's fun, and I think that's part of also the reason why it's successful is that people know. Even though this is on Spotify and there's a massive corporation behind it that distributes it and all that, Spotify leaves me alone. At the end of the line, it's just me and Jamie. I mean, the people that are making this podcast, the people that decide things, Jamie and I we just have conversations. It's just me and him.
Yeah.
Just talking. What do you think we should do? That's it. That's it.
Kind of what Drew and I are like. We're just 2 guys in a truck.
Yeah.
We leave the house in the morning and the phone rings. No.
That's also why it's interesting. That's also why it resonates with people.
Yeah.
People don't like it. Like, if you get your news from CNN, Jesus Christ, how many fucking people are behind that thing? How many executives and producers, and how much financial influence is involved in everything that gets on the air? How much incentive do the people that are saying those things? How are they being pushed? How are they being motivated by progressing their careers along these same paths? What lines are they not willing to cross? What toes are they not willing to step on? What narratives are they pushing? You don't trust it. There's just too much nonsense. And also the way they talk, like the way those old timey, they had things to worry about more than just a caveman. Like, that's phony talk, right? That's the modern phony talk is the phony talk of the people that are the broadcasters on MSNBC. That's modern phony talk. People don't like that. It doesn't feel right to them. They like when they talk to a guy like you. It's like, look what I found. I fucking sprayed water at the permafrost. like I found this. I know this is the guy who actually found it. I don't have to deal with an institution. I'm not dealing with a museum. I'm not dealing with a university. I'm not dealing with a board of investors. And you're dealing with one guy.
Yep.
That's what people like. Because the only thing that resonates with a human being that's listening to this on the other end.
And I think what resonates with people about our boneyard is that it's real time. This shit's going on real time.
Real time.
I'm not hiding anything. I'm not going, oh, well, that bone there is only 190 years old, so I better put it away so nobody knows.
Right. Exactly.
When we found that, I'm going, holy shit.
Yeah.
It's in the bone zone, man.
Yeah.
This is Ice Age shit.
That's what we thought.
And then, boom. No, it's 190 years old. Okay, now we got a real problem.
Yeah. Now it's even more interesting.
It is.
Yeah.
And like I said, we don't sell them. How could you put a price on that?
Right.
Could you?
Could you? I mean, is $1 million for a saber-toothed tiger skull? You know, how much is it? I mean, how many millions and millions and millions of dollars are all the bones that just AMNH has?
Yeah.
How many? How many? I mean, if you put them up for auction,
hundreds of millions.
Oh yeah, a lot of money.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's just on your Instagram.
Yeah. By the way, that bone's yours.
This is mine.
Yeah.
Thank you. I love it.
I told you I was going to fix that shit.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
You got a Spitzer bone.
That's pretty dope. I love it that it's actually the bone. You see here, folks, the chunk has been sawed off.
That's what
carbon dated.
Yeah, that's what I took. I was a little aggressive on that because I want to make sure they had enough material.
I wonder what kind of a saw they had back then, 200 years ago.
It could have been a whip saw. Who knows? It could have been a little handheld. It's
just so fascinating to think back to 200 years ago, the actual human that sawing through that,
yep.
And then as it goes through time, frozen into the ground, pushed out with water, found by you, cut and sent to get DNA tested and carbon dated, and then it comes back to here.
Boom. Where it belongs.
It seems like it belongs here for whatever reason.
It does belong here.
Yeah, it'll sit right here.
Yeah.
Forever.
You put your pens in there.
That's not a bad idea.
No. I mean, they had pens back in the day with feathers.
Make a good ashtray.
They wrote a constitution with that shit.
Tap a cigar on that sucker.
There you go. We have some that aren't empty of the marrow, but we only sampled one so far. We might have to sample one or two more.
How many things have you carbon dated?
That's the only one I've ever.
Of the bones.
Of the 300,000 we found, that's the only one I ever carbon dated.
And
we've had maybe 10 others carbon dated by other people.
And what is the oldest one that you found?
40,000.
40,000.
That's off the most latest one. It probably goes back farther than that, but 50,000 is about as reliable as you can get on carbon-14.
And what animal is it that was 40,000 years old?
Woolly mammoth. It was mammoth ivory. So it went from 40,000 to our next oldest was 22,000. There's a lot of thousands in between them. What happened then?
Yeah.
Where are the people?
Right. Well, you have found evidence of human beings, right? What's that one bone that has a human face carved into it that you've... Yeah, that one.
That one there was found on a tailing pile.
That looks a lot like the Shroud of Turin, by the way.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? That's
paleontologists told us that was natural.
That's the Virgin Mary in a grilled cheese sandwich. What? Paleontologists told you that's natural.
Natural, and I look at it.
What? Cut the shit. Cheeks, nose, mouth, eyes.
And I posted that, Joe, and about half the comments were, Jesus Christ, learn how to take a picture, would you?
Yeah, right.
The only thing in focus is better your pickup truck.
That's true, but that's the problem with iPhones, right? Or any kind of phone.
Yeah, I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah.
I'm a boner.
Yeah, that does not look even remotely natural. That looks absolutely like a face that was carved into a bone.
Yep.
Why would they say that that's natural? That's so silly.
It is.
It's so silly to say that because it just makes you look stupid. Because that might be natural under the craziest of circumstances. It might be natural that a symmetrical face with eyelids and eyebrows and cheeks and a nose and a mouth and, I mean, everything about it is carved.
It almost looks like that shrouded Jesus.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Almost the same face.
Very similar. But the idea that that is natural is just fucking stupid.
Yep.
Like, come on. Come on. So stupid. Has that been carbon dated?
No.
No?
You see what I did to the one I gave you? Mm-hmm. A lot of people go, oh, you need to carbon date all your fossils. Okay. They have $400 a pop, and I got 300,000. That's 1.2 million. So, I'm sorry, 120 million you want me to spend?
Well, also with that, maybe it's an old bone that someone carved thousands of years later.
Could
That's
be.
possible.
It was on top of a tail I went at the boneyard.
Yeah.
We have gravel and gravel pits and mines everywhere.
How could paleontologists with a straight face say that that's natural? I mean, it might be. Under the craziest of circumstances, it might be natural. But if you had a bet, everything you had,
I'm going.
put it on red or put it on black. You know, like, I'm putting it on. Someone had a fucking stone or a knife or whatever it was, and they carved that face.
Yep.
That looks carved as fuck.
It looks like it to me.
Yeah. I think it looks at to 99.9% of the population,
Yeah.
other than people with a vested interest in it being natural.
Yep.
Yeah. For what reason? Just to push a narrative? Like, why would you say that that's natural?
No, I have, with my friends at AM&H, they said with witnesses, unfortunately for them, two of the uppity ups there said the reason they don't want to give the bones back to me is they think I'm going to sell them. Now, let's think about that for a second.
That's so stupid. You have 100 times more than that. Just sit in a fucking warehouse that you've never sold.
And I met with the University of Alaska State Senate recently. Drew and I met with them. And we said, we had this deal lined out 22 years ago. They were supposed to return everything in the basement to Alaska. We agreed to it. I funded it. I put money in the account to make that happen. Time goes by. Well, we can't because there's asbestos in the ceiling. Blah, blah, blah. It has to be abated. Okay, abate it. Let me know when you're done. I'll come get them. Well, we got sidetracked with 15 years at the boneyard, 16 years. I said, I better. That's unfinished business. I need to go get those. In the meantime, they said, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Fuck this dirt tramp. We're going to keep him. He's just going to sell them.
How crazy. Let's show the images of what you have that you haven't sold, just so people understand how silly that is. Because you have photographs on the Instagram that show massive amounts of tusks and bones. And
That's just one day right there.
that's just one day.
Yep.
I mean, we'll go and scroll down because show the warehouses, Jamie, because he's got warehouses. What is that? The cave drawings. What is that? Scroll back up. That art.
The one in the middle?
A little right above the guy with the guitar. Yeah,
That was something that I saw online after I came out, and I said that we domesticated the woolly mammoth. Somebody sent me that picture.
It's a guy on top of a mammoth.
Yeah, a guy on top of a mammoth.
Whoa.
And you know how your kids, you got a golden retriever.
Uh-huh.
You know, your kids take a brush, and that dog just lays there, and they comb the hair out of it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we do that with the woolly mammoth?
Well, listen, we know people ride elephants. I rode an elephant in Thailand. You can ride elephants.
Yep.
They domesticate them. If you treat them right, they'll let you ride them. Yeah. The fossilized creature.
The mummy?
Yeah. What is that? Scroll down a little bit, Jamie. Down.
It's right up here.
Is it up there? No, you had it. It's a little down further, buddy. There it is. There it is.
Yep.
What is that little fella?
Well, we don't know yet. We
Does it look like a rat or a shrew?
when Dick Mull was up there doing his research for that film, you know, Dick Mull.
Yeah, you talked about him before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for you to say what an unfortunate name.
Yeah, it is an unfortunate name.
He said, keep your eyes out for Arctic ground squirrel. And that's been a few years ago. Mm-hmm. This year, we just found that this year. We've never found one before. and it was still frozen. So
That looks like it could be a ground squirrel.
could be, and I've got other pictures of it where you can actually see the ribs. I mean, it's really unbelievable, well preserved. I gave it to the museum up there. I said, "Here, you guys, this is out of my league. You guys do the research," and they took it, and they're still studying it. But they've had it since July.
Scroll back up a little, Jamie. A little down, a little down, a little down. What is that to the right?
That's a mammoth tooth that my buddy that carved those pipes.
Oh, we carved that into the mammoth tooth?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Couple
cool.
of faces. By the way, this is a good time for me to give you something that I got from him.
Oh,
You'll like it.
okay. What's that?
That's a pipe.
Oh, wow. What is this made out of?
You think it'll work?
Yep.
It's an Usyk.
An Usyk.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
Jamie, what's an Usyk?
Boxer? I don't know.
Yeah. That one guy, the heavyweight champ.
OOSIK.
OOSIK. Oh, it's a dick.
Well, I can't believe Joe Rogan put
That's
a
not
walrus
the-
dick in his mouth.
It's not the first one we have. We got another one in another room somewhere.
Yeah, we have what do we have? Another walrus dick. Fossilized walrus bone.
I don't
Yeah.
know where it is.
Anyways, that's,
So there's a walrus dick.
yeah. Well, not a big one.
No.
There's a broken one.
Yeah. Which tends to happen with dick bones.
Sometimes.
People get wild.
Yeah. You never know what happens. Ooh, sick.
Yeah. Wow.
They, anyways, he carved that up. And I said, well, I'm gonna give it to Joe. It's a good conversation starter.
Yeah, what are they called again? There's a word for those bones other than Usyk. There's a word for fossilized. God, I forget what the word is. Steve Ranella told it to me when he gave it to me.
Baculum?
Yeah, that's right. Baculum. That's the technical term.
How do you remove a raccoon baculum? Is that what I
How?
just read?
Yeah, how do you remove it?
It's very
From
greasy.
where?
Raccoons. Yeah,
Carefully.
I guess.
There's a little bag for it.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. But we just been doing what we did when we saw you last time.
Just continuing.
I told you that, hey, man, I don't have a whole lot new to report on all the new bones we found because we're finding so many different kind of things we've never found before. But when we moved the whole operation down to where we started, bought a new pump, started up that left limit, we're starting to find all kinds of shit. We're just trying to find,
There's
That's
all-
not new, but
that's what's still in the basement.
It's
That's
just
the-
nuts. The,
And in
the
those-
amount of stuff you have is just absolutely nuts.
You know, when that guy wasn't looking, I grabbed a sample of that asbestos-containing material over where the lights are.
So this is in the AMNH.
Yeah.
This is all your stuff
Yep.
that they think you're going to sell if you get it out of there, which
Yeah.
is hilarious.
You know, what's funny about that is, so what? It's my stuff.
Right.
It came off patented ground. I can sell it if I want to,
Yeah.
but I don't need to, and I don't want to. I want to study it. I want to find out what happened. Why did all the animals go extinct?
Right.
The 65% of the megafauna at the same time.
Right.
Something big going on.
Something big.
And Pat Druckenmiller says the secrets are in the bones. They have diagnostic tools now that can tell what the animal was eaten, how many times it had sex, how far it traveled, how long it lived, things that we don't even know what the questions are yet. We just need the puzzle pieces back so it can be studied.
What really fascinates me is the skull on your T-shirt.
What skull?
The one on your T-shirt.
That one?
Yeah, that one.
I don't know.
Finding some of those there.
don't know.
The problem with finding some of those there, though, that would change everything in terms of, like, who goes and who can look at it. Right? You want another one?
Can you fill me up?
Sure, I can. We could talk deeper. Right? That's the problem.
I think you called him the dude.
Yeah, the dude.
Yeah.
The problem with the dude is then it becomes archaeology, right?
Yeah, dudes are archaeology.
Yeah, and dudes mean that the university's coming or whoever, government's coming.
Hypothetically, let's say you found a dude.
Right.
And hypothetically, let's say the university did come look at it. And hypothetically, they said, okay, you need to go turn yourself into the troopers. Why? Because those are human remains. So if somebody did find that, they'd have to go to the troopers and fill out a report.
So we found a dead body.
They'd have to say we found human remains.
Right.
And let's say the person taking the report said, let me get a homicide team out here to talk to you. And you hypothetically said, that bone is older than everybody in this building, all their ancestors combined, and going back 100 generations. Well, we're not interested in that then. Get out of here. Well, get out of here after the report's written. Hypothetically.
Hypothetically. Yeah.
So everything was okay.
So if hypothetically, completely hypothetically, if they found a dude that's 40,000 years old, then shit gets wild.
Sure could.
Because if they found this dude in the same level of permafrost where you're finding woolly mammoths.
Hypothetically, let's say it was 10 feet away from a woolly mammoth skull.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically.
Yeah.
That would be very interesting.
It would be very interesting.
That's a really interesting hypothesis.
Also, is it anatomically modern? Is it Denisovan? You know, those the type of humans that they found in that cave in Russia? Completely different branch of humans?
I don't know about those. I haven't heard about those.
Yeah, they found, I don't know how much they found, but they found bones that are from, I believe this was like, I want to say 2007-ish, 2017, somewhere around there. Real recently, they found this new branch of the human tree that's called the Denisovan. When did they find that, Jamie? James going to look it up, but they were in Russia. There's many versions of human beings that coexisted, apparently, and Homo sapiens were the...
Article from 2019 says they recreated what it looks like from a pinky bone they found.
First portrait of extinct Denisovan human relative created from pinky bone DNA. Wow. Denisovan girl shown with dark hair, piercing eyes, and a broad face. So it was a completely different kind of human being. Not a Neanderthal, not a Homo sapien. Something different. More than 100,000 years ago, modern humans in Eurasia lived alongside Neanderthals and Denisovans, two other hominins that have since gone extinct. While much is known about Neanderthals and how they lived, Denisovans have remained enigmatic because only a handful of bone fragments from the ancient group have ever been found. But now they have a good idea of how Denisovans looked. In a study published Thursday in the journal Cell, scientists took DNA from a Denisovan pinky bone found in a Siberian cave in 2008, there it is, and used it to predict Denisovan anatomical features. I wonder how they did that.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Click that. 56 features that differ.
What?
Yeah. Oh, that's all it is? Wow. That little tiny piece of bone. How much Denisovan bones have they found? Degraded DNA molecules from a group of human relatives who went extinct tens of thousands of years ago have been reassembled using a new technique, yielding a genetic code for the mysterious Denisovans that meets the standard for modern humans. The findings are based on samples drawn from 40 milligrams of ground-up bone from a Siberian girl's finger. They confirm imagine that, they can tell it's a girl, too. They confirm what scientists saw how do they know what gender it is? Why are they misgendering this poor Denisovan? Scientists saw a much less detailed genetic sequence they produced a couple years ago and addressed some of the deep questions surrounding the Denisovans, but they also raised a few new questions, including a basic one. Just how old was the sample that they analyzed? Wow. Is that all they found? How many bone fragments have they found from Denisovans? Thank God for scientists. They got a jawbone.
Jawbone.
Oh, wow.
Half a jawbone.
Oh, wow. In Tibet. Wow.
Says they mated with Neanderthals.
Wow. A hybrid bone reveals in Live Science. Click on that. What year was that where they figured that out? That was 2022. Wow. So they're finding, from 2008 to 2022, they're finding more and more of these bones. Closest known extinct relatives of modern humans were the thick-browed Neanderthals and the mysterious Denisovans. A bone fragment from Siberian caves, perhaps of a teenage girl, has revealed the first known hybrid of these groups. A new study concludes the finding confirms inbreeding that had only been hinted at in earlier genetic studies. Very amazing. Now, a number of now extinct human lineages not only lived alongside modern humans, but even interbred with them, leaving traces of their DNA in the modern human genome. These lineages included the stocky Neanderthals, as well as the enigmatic Denisovans, known from only a few teeth and bones unearthed in the Denisova cave in the Altai Mountains. Click on that now extinct human lineages. How many do they have? Wow, they got a tooth. Wow. The scientists have just completed sequencing the entire genome of a species. Scroll up. It was above it. Of a species of archaic humans called Denisovans. The fossils will consist of a finger bone and 2 molars from this extinct lineage. Scientists don't know the precise age of the material found, though they estimate it ranges between 30,000 and 80,000 years of age. Wow.
So that would be 40,000 years ago or so?
Somewhere. Yeah, somewhere along the same lines as the oldest shit you found in the boneyard.
Yep.
Woo! Wild stuff.
We have no idea the range that we find
Yeah.
because we've only sampled a few of them.
Well, that's what's really crazy is that the sheer amount of material that you guys have excavated is just a drop in the bucket of what's still there.
You talked about the carbon.
Yeah.
We don't know how far it goes. We just know it's there.
Yeah.
We know that in front of it, downstream of it, it's decomposed bedrock. And decomposed bedrock in that area has gold in it, but it's very hard to recover the gold from because it's a clay and you can't wash it very good. But underneath that's another layer of bedrock. Did something come in hot? Something came in hot. Something caused a lot of water to melt real quick. Sea levels rose 400 feet worldwide.
400 feet.
We came from Jacksonville yesterday. The east coast from Jacksonville was 85 miles farther east. That was all dry land.
Holy shit.
And now it's worldwide this happened.
Yeah.
Talk about climate change. Climate change is climate change. It's always going to be a climate changing.
Right.
And I'm comfortable with that. We say, oh, we're melting the climate, we're melting the world, we're doing all this shit. Don't worry about the world. The world will take care of itself. We don't have to be assholes. We don't have to pollute it. But we should take some care of it. But now let's go electric vehicles all the time. Well, the people who are saying that don't realize how much more copper has to be mined, how much more lead has to be mined. You're using fossil fuels for all that. You're not going to get a D11 dozer on batteries. You're just not. You got to use fossil fuels.
Yeah.
And
And also, the thing about this whole climate change argument is climate's never been stable. It's not like before humans it was ever like flat. Like you could predict it every year. Oh, September 13th, it's going to be 75 degrees. Nope. It's never been. Never. Ever. It's always been up and down. It's a constant changing environment on this planet. It exists within a range where biological life can survive, but have you ever seen those structures that they found under the ocean outside of Japan?
No.
Fascinating. It's called the Yonaguni. And they've tried to say that these things are naturally occurring. But Graham Hancock has dived with them and many other people as well. And there's right angles and there's portals. There's all this stuff down there that just doesn't look at all like something that's natural. It looks like some ancient structure that was under the ocean a long, long, long time ago. Look at that. There's corridors and steps. They have no idea who made it, why. It's just this immense structure that's underneath the ocean.
Do they know how deep that is?
I'm sure they do. It's a 165 known structure of unknown origin, 85 feet underwater, the southern coast of Ryukyu Islands in Japan.
That would fit right in with the 400-foot.
Yeah, fit right in with it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Look at that thing.
yeah, it's insane. But what's really insane is the pathways and the corridors and these things that just don't seem to, the right angles that exist everywhere, that just absolutely don't seem to be natural. They seem to be carved. It seems to be something that someone made a long fucking time ago. Graham Hancock is absolutely convinced. He's like, when you swim down there with those things, there's no way. There's just no way. There's no way that that wasn't created. Wild stuff. And who knows what it really looked like how many thousands of years ago, before the water erosion, before whatever the impact did to it.
Nowadays people want to get something done. They always put in the effects on the climate will benefit us from this study. If we do this study,
Yeah.
it's good for climate change. I know the guys that are cloning the woolly mammoths are saying, they want to bring them back and put them in Siberia to keep the permafrost from melting and the methane gas from escaping.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I have an idea that as soon as they get one out there on the steps, somebody's going to come along and go, I'm going to shoot me a woolly mammoth.
Especially if you put them in Russia. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we've...
If they get a steady population of them in Russia, someone for sure is going to say, do you want to hunt the woolly mammoth? We can make this happen.
We can make it happen.
How much money do you have, my friend?
There's never enough.
Never enough.
No, I mean, we're involved in the fossilized ivory market a little bit because we find broken tusks and we make stuff out of it. And there's a very few American craftspeople that use woolly mammoth ivory to manufacture stuff. And I know last time we talked about it, you're going, it might be kind of, but that's what we do. And like I said, this is an adorable little hobby. That's what my wife calls it. But when I go to pay $400 for a carbon-14 sample, that means that's 100 gallons of fuel I didn't buy. So I kind of go like this.
Right.
I just soon buy the fuel because this little hobby pays for itself. You guys buy this, and I'll buy fuel, put it in the pump, and I'll go find more. And we'll just do that.
Yeah.
We'll make real nice things out of it. And this is a good time to give you this.
Oh, geez, you got another gift?
Oh, yeah.
Spoiling me, buddy.
My daughter, Elora, Drew's wife out there, Elora Longley. Last time I was here, I told you, she's Saks Fifth Avenue. She's beyond Saks Fifth Avenue. She wanted to give you that.
Oh, it's a pendant.
On a silver chain.
Oh, wow.
She didn't know if you wear jewelry or not, but I said, I'll give it to him.
I'll wear that.
Hell
How old
yeah.
is that?
It's old.
It's not going to go around this fat head.
And she also said, Joe gets all the stuff. I want to give something to his wife. So this is for your wife.
Okay.
Elora made that too.
Oh, cool. Another one.
Yep.
Wow.
Little gold. There's a little tiny gold in the top.
And how old do you think this is?
30, 40,000 years. So
Imagine if you could follow the timeline of the animal roaming around
yeah. No, she's,
to being converted into jewelry.
like I said, last time she was Saks Fifth Avenue, but she's putting those guys to shame with this stuff. She finds the ivory. She finds the gold. She makes the
These things
stuff.
you gave us from last time here.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Yeah. No one's gotten high off this yet.
No, I bet that other one I sent you hasn't ever seen a match either.
I know. I wouldn't do that to it. But I'm sure you guys do sell them. I'm sure there's people out there that
Actually,
have gone into space smoking weed off of a mammoth bone.
If I was an astronaut, I wouldn't. Even if I didn't go into space, I'd do it. Now, the other thing is, I had a guy call me. He goes, I love that Joe Rogan podcast. I want to make him some pistol grips for a 1911.
Oh.
I said, I don't know if he's got a 1911. He says, well, give me his address and I'll mail it to him. I said, I ain't going to do that. I'm going to see him. If you want me to give him to him, I'll give him to him. But I'm not giving out his address. He says, okay. So he sent me these. Burkett Customs is the name of his operation.
Check that out.
Yeah, check him out.
Wow. Oh, wow. Look at that.
Woolly mammoth. There's a little wrench in there for you to attach it to your
I see.
1911.
That's pretty badass.
It is badass.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So he sells them. Mammoth Ivory full-size 1911 grips. Wow. That's beautiful. It's just crazy that there's so much of this stuff
Yeah.
that you can make stuff off of it.
It all starts with a broken tooth or a broken piece of ivory.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
And they're very functional.
Yeah. No, I'd imagine. And beautiful.
Now, this is
You
for
got
your,
more stuff? Jesus
yeah,
Christ, dude.
This is for your kids.
Okay.
Just add sandpaper.
Just add sandpaper.
Yeah, they're little ivory shards. You give them a piece of sandpaper, and you sand it to a mirror finish. That's what you make stuff like what we make out of.
Oh.
Those are raw shards.
Okay.
And
I'll give it to him.
yeah. And last but not least, for you and Jamie,
Another one?
you each get one of these little packets.
Okay.
Now, I know that he plays golf.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you play golf.
No, I don't. I'm scared of golf.
Well, he'll have to steal the ball marker from you. But I made you a ball marker.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. And Joe, too. And there's a guitar pick in each one of those, too.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've got the guitar picks for Gary Clark Jr. Oh, nice. Ball marker and guitar pick. All right, Jamie.
Time to play golf.
No.
Need to mark your ball?
I don't have the time.
Nah, we could try.
I'm scared of the golf.
I've never played a game of golf.
Golf absorbs your time.
It scares me,
Let's play
too.
9 holes.
Yeah. The 9 holes leads to me being a fucking golf junkie
9
like
holes, half the time.
Tony Hinchcliffe and you and Ron White out there playing every day.
Imagine the foursome. That'd be a great time.
It would be a good time.
See?
I said I'll go with you guys and get
That's all it's
just
about.
get drunk.
Just have a great time.
That's Alora's
I'll do that. All right.
stuff.
Nice. Wow. Beautiful. Incredible.
Yep.
It is amazing that you could. There's so much stuff that you could make things, make jewelry, and make pistol grips, and
Like I told you, Drew and I are we're the Dollar General. I told you that last year. Mm-hmm. But I think we got a meeting with Family Dollar coming up next week.
yeah.
No, I'm just bullshitting you. we just enjoy working with it. It's a really cool material to work with. Because you take a piece, Joe, and you look at it and go, what can I make out of that? It might take a week or two to figure it out.
I have a pool cue that has a mammoth ivory joint and a mammoth ivory butt cap that my friend Eric Crisp of Sugar Tree Cues makes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's from Alaska, and he has mammoth ivory that he puts inside pool cues. It's beautiful. It's got like a very. See if you could Google Sugar Tree Cue with mammoth ivory joint, because I know he's made a few of these. You know, he doesn't have a lot of the material, but he's made a few, and they're absolutely beautiful.
We've had people contact us about that, and I'm going, hey man, I don't know how to do it. I can't make pool cue stuff, but
Yeah.
I have the raw ivory. If you need a little bit to do it,
Yeah.
you can do it.
Well, I'll connect you with him.
All right.
Yeah, he's the man. He makes some of the most beautiful pool cues in the world, and he's an interesting guy, kind of like yourself. He doesn't give a fuck. He makes them when he wants to.
Yep.
Sells them if he wants to.
Yep.
I can't give him money. He just keeps giving me cues. Never been able to give him money for him. I'm like, you gotta take some money.
Yeah.
He won't take any money.
No, I don't. blame
He'll
him.
sell them to other people.
Yeah.
But have you found one that has mammoth
Found
ivory?
people talking about it for sure.
no
but
images?
I don't know if this is actually his or.
Yeah, that's his. That's 100% his. I can tell by the ring work. So that's
just not coming up
that's
clear.
mammoth ivory joint. That might actually be my cue because it looks real similar. So he puts that mammoth ivory. Scroll down a little bit, Jamie.
So
Scroll down. That one right there in the middle. Right, yeah, click on that. Yeah,
I think it's the same.
that's
picture.
exactly what it looks like.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's not clear. I don't know why it's not loading clear.
It's probably some of the fucking Android phone or some shit from the early 2000s. Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's what you start with, those little shards.
Yeah, it's just so crazy that there's so much of that stuff that you could actually make things out of it.
Yeah. No, it's
Something happened.
something big time.
Something big time happened. Yeah.
Nobody knows.
But it's crazy that this particular subject of the mass extinction event, which is related to Atlantis, which is related to the melting of the polar ice caps that led to some sort of a mass extinction event in North America, that all this stuff is connected, and one of the big pieces of the puzzle is your property.
Yep.
And maybe one of the biggest pieces that's ever been discovered.
I think so. And if I can get the other stuff back, well, you saw the video. All that stuff probably got dumped in the East River. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a mammoth leg bone, but it's broken at the end, and we don't want it. It's not museum quality to throw it away.
Right.
And so a lot of that, they say in a report, mistakes made in the field. Well, those are your people. Those are your employees that made those mistakes. Don't blame it on my company, guys.
Is it mistakes made in the field, meaning that the bones got damaged?
Means they didn't document where they came from.
Oh, I see.
And the paleontologists, if they don't know exactly what level of soil, where it came from, they want all that stuff. And if they don't know that stuff, it's got no scientific value, none. And so the stuff they sent back, none of it, maybe a couple pieces, have scientific value. They weren't supposed to take that. and they know it. And that's why they don't want to return it, because it's quite valuable.
Which is so crazy.
Well, you saw that
Just
film,
sitting in the
12
basement.
tons in 1 year.
Yeah.
They did it for 1928 to 1958.
That's nuts.
That's a lot of tusks. And they talk about hundreds and hundreds of them shipped there. I've seen them. I mean, I saw them. And when I met with the head guy, I said, I want them all back. I want all the bones back. And he said to himself, who is this fucking guy? Get him out of my office. Next time he shows up, make him stand in the rain. Which we did. It's not like I'm afraid of getting wet or dirty.
Jamie, see if you could find the photo from the Boneyard Instagram page that shows that carbon layer.
I've been looking for it the whole time. I don't know why I can't find it. I
It's
kind
on-
of know what it looks like, but
Do you know how
there's
far
other-
back it is?
I'll find it real quick.
Do you know, is it old? Like, when did you post it?
Oh, it's been a few years.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's probably,
Before
you post quite a bit,
podcast.
so it's probably pretty far back in there.
I've reposted it a few times.
That's
found-
the big
yeah.
piece. What's that,
I
Jamie?
found a few that looked like it. I just couldn't tell. The description wasn't saying like this is the carbon layer or anything.
How far back was the ones that you found?
I'm back to right when he was on the first time. So I'm back in the bone rush.
How
last
thick is
year.
that carbon layer?
You know the picture you pulled up with the guy riding the mammoth? Mm-hmm. There's a picture right next to it showing it.
Oh, okay. You'll find that. Oh, there it is. Okay.
And there's the picture of the guy.
Right. So it's right next to it.
Not that.
Oh, right above. Right there.
Right here.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
That.
This.
Yep.
That's the carbon layer.
Oh.
So here it is. It says something came in hot. This burnt gravel laying on top of burnt bedrock 80 feet below the surface. Topography at the boneyard. Tell me it's not natural. It's the most natural thing in the solar system. Of course it's natural, right? That's something came in, boom, and burned everything. And it's 80 feet down in the permafrost. I wonder if they did a core sample, what they would find. Imagine if they did that and they said 11,800 years. I bet. I'd be willing to bet. Bet that's it. It totally makes sense.
Oh, the short-faced bear, there, that jawbone you just saw. No, those are badass. They're extinct.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that animal was... They think that might have been one of the animals that kept people from crossing that Bering Land Bridge. That it was just such a fucking monstrous predator. Far bigger than a polar bear.
Oh.
An immense, immense predator. Like the biggest bear ever
Yeah.
that existed and went extinct along with all the other megafauna. 65% of the North American megafauna instantaneously existed. That's one of the reasons why we have weird stuff here. Like pronghorn antelope. Like, why are they so fast? Well, they were so fast because there was a North American cheetah that lived here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which was faster.
Yeah. So we had a North American lion that lived here back then that was bigger than the African lion.
And we have those up north. We found one.
Really?
We found more than one. American lion.
Really?
Oh, yeah. The skull that you see sticking out of the muck bench, that's what Dick Moll calls the American lion.
Wow.
And when we were going through just some bones I had on a pallet, and he goes, oh, do you know what that is? I said, no, that's a lion scapula. And I told him, we got a bunch of those.
Really?
Yeah, we do. We got a bunch of those.
So was there supposed to be a North American lion as far as the...
The skull I have, they say, is the best one of the 4 that have been found.
Wow.
And some guy offered me $85,000 for it, and I said, there's the door.
That's not enough, fella.
That ain't. We don't sell this shit.
Yeah. Also, like, that's a historically important piece of bone. That's a very important piece.
Yeah.
And to think that, again, you have that's a drop in the bucket. I shouldn't say a drop in the bucket. That's a drop in the fucking Olympic swimming pool that you have up there.
Yep.
I mean, if someone made a full-scale excavation, just really went all in to see what the fuck is going on up here, God, that would be amazing.
The problem is it scares them. It's a scary sight because we're not talking about dirt and rocks. We're talking about melting ice. You get over next to that muck bench, and you look up 60 feet, and up there's trees, and there's not boulders, but big chunks of ice that can fall. And so we're real careful with our guys. Don't go under there.
Oh, have you had any kind of collapses before?
Oh yeah, yeah. We had a piece of ice we knew was going to collapse, and we kept working on it to make it happen quicker by undercutting it with the giant. And it was
When you say the giant, you're talking about the water sprayer.
right.
Yeah.
And it collapsed 2 days after we shut the pumps off.
Ooh.
We knew it was going to go. We said, okay, stay out. That was 5 stories tall, the piece that broke off.
Wow.
It took us a whole summer to get rid of it with the giant. But within that thing was about half a dozen tusks.
Wow.
So we just sprayed it and come back and get a tusk. And we restore the tusks. If they're not broken, we fix them. We got a bunch of them restored. A bunch.
It's just so nuts that there's this one area that has so much.
Not 5 acres either. 2.1, Albert.
I mean, 2.1 is like a really big backyard for a nice suburban house.
And I think I mentioned to you, it goes all the way, it goes downstream where there is a creek that's a mile long. And that creek is going to, if we ever get to it, someday somebody will get to it. Maybe Drew and Alora or my other kids might get to it, my grandkids.
So here's the area, and this is showing the giant in action as it's spraying.
Yeah.
And so do you just spray for a specific amount of time and then just start looking at what's been uncovered? Or do you look at it while it's doing it?
Sometimes we'll hang out. If we see something coming up, we'll aim it. But a lot of times that one's an automatic giant. It'll sweep by itself. You turn the pumps on, and it just goes back and forth.
And then you
up
come
down.
back and just start looking around.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like looking for Easter eggs.
It's not, I mean, it seems to me insane that no one's contacted you that doesn't want to do some sort of a collaboration with you and do some massively funded expedition where they.
It's going to take massive amounts of money, and I'm not opposed to having them do that. But generally speaking, what I get is some guy goes, "Hey, I'd like a mammoth
What's
tusk."
that, Jamie?
It's ice, right? It's like ice. Just like
What is
coming out of the
that?
dirt. It doesn't say what it is. It's just
To see a lot of Ice Age cool stuff emerge from the frozen muck.
That's because we don't know what that is.
or it's just shiny black. Can't tell.
Huh.
Reflecting the sky.
But the stuff, the little things on the side, the micros, we spent a lot of time looking for tips, spear tips.
Have you found them?
Yeah.
Yeah?
We found one mammoth hip bone with the spear tip still sticking in it.
Really?
And I've got that one posted, a little video thing.
Ooh, find that, Jamie. That's wild.
Yeah, it is wild.
How old is that?
Got to be tens of thousands.
There's got to be some people in there. You might have like a full Dennis Oven in there.
I found things that I thought,
Oh, there's a tip.
yeah, now they're going to tell me that tip went through the fur and the hide and hit a vital organ in a mammoth. And
But if you found one in a mammoth hip bone, it has to. You
we
don't
found
think
a
that
tip. We found a tip.
in a mammoth hip bone?
Yeah.
But don't you think that they hunted those things? Especially if they were above them. Like if you were above them on a cliff or something like that.
Well,
you could
there's-
sneak up and throw spears down.
They could have. I don't know.
I mean, they did it with elephants. I know
just-
people hunt elephants with bow and arrows. There's a video of people hunting them with traditional bows, like long bows
Yeah.
from like the 1900s, early 1900s.
But remember, the steppe had no trees, no wood. It's all grasslands. And so the browsers, the woolly mammoth, the caribou, the steppe bisons, they ate grass. And the moose came in later, the browsers. And there was no wood to fashion a spear out of, really, to speak of. It was all grass. So I'm thinking they kind of might have moved through a little bit, got a little bit farther south. Maybe they went somewhere else that was on the limits, that was emerging into uplands.
So maybe some nomadic people traveled with spears they had gotten from somewhere else, and they made it to your place because that's where the mammoths were.
The carnivores had a field day up there because short-faced bears, the cave lions, they had all kinds of stuff to eat.
Cave bears.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they were eating good, and that was for thousands of years. They did that. They got along. That balance is there. We have them right now with wolves. You have a year with a lot of wolves, and then you'll have, they kill everything, all the moose. Then you'll have a few years where the wolves disappear because there's nothing to eat, and then the moose come back, and then the wolves come back. I mean, it's time,
Constant cycle.
constant cycle.
Yeah.
I've got a creek now with 2 packs of wolves on it. The one I invited you to go hunting on. There won't be a moose left on that creek, I don't think, this summer.
Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
I'll put you on a different creek.
They're a fascinating animal.
Yeah,
We just showed yesterday. They reintroduced them to Colorado recently. Good luck, guys.
I don't think the people in Colorado understand what just happened.
No, they have no idea. They did fucking city dwellers. Think wolves are amazing. They're so beautiful. Why'd they go extinct?
I have that video of a little young wolf that's right by our road. You know, we're driving down to look at a cut, and he's just sitting there looking at us like, hey, what's up? And he's howling, and you can hear another one in the background howling. They show up out at the boneyard going, time to eat.
All right.
Oh, yeah, they smell that rotten flesh. And
I'm sure, right?
oh, the stench of that is, you can't avoid it.
How bad does it smell when you start excavating?
It's the kind of stench that you'll never forget, but you'll never smell it anywhere else. So the invite is still open for you to come up there.
I need to make it my way out there. If I do, I want to bring Randall.
Do it.
Yeah.
But here's the other caveat to that.
Okay.
We built our new building. We put 2 1885 Brunswick pool tables in there. We got them restored.
I saw.
And I told Drew, I said, you're welcome to play on it, but I ain't playing until Joe Rogan plays on it with me. And as soon as you cue it up and rack it, I'm going to run out the door and leave.
Okay.
I'm not a very good pool player.
Well, that's why I'm scared of golf, because I am a good pool player.
I know you're I know you're a good pool player.
But that's what it takes to play good pool. It's just massive amounts of time that I don't have.
Yeah, it's practice.
I already have one thing that sucks my time. And if I was living where you are, I probably my time would be spent spraying water.
We're trying to figure out a way to do it while we don't have to be there. You know, put the auto giant up there.
Did you get a bunch of people that reached out to you after the podcast that wanted to volunteer to help? And
Yeah. But I can't do it. You know,
too many weirdos.
Look, dude, you talking about you two?
Yeah.
It's me and Drew.
Yeah.
And when it's all hands on deck, when something is happening, like the day, then it's all hands on deck. And that day we pulled out a whole woolly mammoth and a half.
Wow.
In one day.
A whole woolly mammoth.
And a half.
And a half.
And we got the other half the next day.
Have you thought about putting that thing together?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got it all.
Like museum style?
I don't know.
Piecing it together?
We'll put it together and put it in our building.
How do they do that?
They
use like metal to connect the bones and...
The museum I saw in the Yukon, they use a metal frame and they attach it somehow to that. But I've seen these woolly mammoth replicas that they have of the skeletons, and you see the tusks going out. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking, and there's nothing supporting those tusks. Those are made out of foam.
Oh.
You can't hold a 250-pound tusk in a skull without it just breaking. You got to have something underneath it to support it.
Oh, so those are replicas?
Oh, yeah. Most of them are just all foam.
Well, that's the thing about the dinosaurs, right? They'll have some pieces, and then the rest of it is just kind of bullshit. Mm-hmm. It's just what they know it looked like and the dimensions that it would be based on the shape of whatever bones they do have.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have all the bones. We have whole herds of those things.
Wow.
And it's just a matter of that thing that we invented called time.
Yeah.
My time's better spent collecting it than it is trying to put it together.
It's just amazing that there's this one spot in Alaska, and it really makes you think how many spots are like that somewhere else that just have not been explored.
Well, I told you last time that guy Chuck says there's 10,000 of those dead animals on my property. Woolly mammoths.
10,000.
10,000.
That's the estimate.
Yeah. He's the carver. And he's dealt more woolly mammoth bones and tusks than anybody I know, probably in the world.
It just makes you really want to imagine what the scene was like when it all went down. What the scene was like, boom,
boom,
when they all just died all at once.
Yeah. And all at once might have been 500 years.
Right.
Might have been 1,000 years.
Right.
But faster than they could, adapt to it.
Yeah.
So... And, all the silt and all the shit that covers the ground there, that's left over from the melting glaciers. The glaciers melted and the wind came in and blew all that stuff, deposited itself on the gravels. And that's why in gold mining you got to strip that shit off to get down to the gravel and the bedrock. That's all covering it.
Have you paid attention to any of Randall Carlson's work?
A little bit.
He thinks it all happened very quickly.
I think he's right.
Yeah, I think he's right too.
But I think there's another one in there earlier.
I bet.
by about 20,000 years, maybe.
Completely makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go 20,000 years ago from us, I mean, look, we think about the pyramids and we think about Egypt, and we really don't know when they made those. But Robert Schoch, who's the guy who was a geologist from Boston University who did the work on the Sphinx and the Temple of the Sphinx and found water erosion that indicates thousands of years of rainfall after they carved that thing. After they carved that area out. He's like, this is thousands of years of rainfall. And the last time there was like rainfall in the Nile Valley was more than 9,000 years ago. So you have 9,000 years ago, and then you have thousands of years before that. So now you're in that area. Now you're in 12,000 years ago, 13, 14, who knows? There's also speculation as to when the Sphinx, which used to have the head of a lion, before they carved it and made it an Egyptian head. Mm-hmm. And they think that, because the head of the Sphinx is much smaller than the rest of the body, it also has much less erosion. And then they go back to, okay, at what point in time was this thing pointed towards the constellation Leo?
Right.
And now you're at 30,000 years ago.
Yep.
And they think that might have been when these people had made this thing.
And I've heard you talk about the pyramids and the engineering that went into it. And how do you move a block like that 500 miles?
Yeah, insane.
So well intricately cut, you can't even put a razor blade between the fits.
Yeah, amazing.
You can't do that now.
Well, 2,300,000 stones that weigh between like 2 and 80 tons, perfectly placed to true north, south, east, and west. They align with constellations. You have these shafts that align to certain star patterns. And it's like, woo, what was going down in Egypt?
I got to think Elon Musk has come back. He might have been there.
Well, I bet there was millions of Elon Musks back then. Who knows? I mean, I really firmly believe that we are sort of a reimagining of human civilization, and that human civilization, as it were, when they did construct the pyramids, was probably more advanced than we are today in a different way.
Yeah.
And this is what Graham thinks. This is what Randall thinks. And a lot of these people think that whatever technology they had, whatever, so far undiscovered technology, we don't really know how they carved that stuff. We don't know what methods they used, because modern conventional thinking is that they only had copper. They didn't even have steel. Mm. So how the fuck are they doing that? There's also these drill marks, these cores that have been cored out that seem to indicate diamond bit drills, moving at insane rates of speed that have cored out sections of stone. Like, who the fuck did that? Who, how, where, why, when? Even if it really is 2,500 BC, what the fuck did you use? What did you use? How'd you do that?
Yeah.
It's probably not 2,500 years ago, because that's just based on organic matter. It's also based on, they find like little pieces of organic matter that they can carbon date, that there's no real proof that wasn't done, that they didn't sort of like resurface things or refix things or try to update things. There's also the hieroglyphs, which is really fascinating, because the hieroglyphs, they accept the hieroglyphs up to a certain point, and then when the hieroglyphs go back and they indicate kings that existed 30,000, 40,000 years ago, they're like, oh, that's just myth. Like, says who? Says who? Says you, because you've written books on this and you've taught lectures and been, you've based your life work on this timeline. Is that why you think that old stuff is myth? Because you don't think you don't think Ramses is myth. You don't think that Tutankhamun is myth. You don't think that all those other things are myth. Why do you think it's myth when it gets back 30, 40,000 years ago? I bet that's not myth. I bet whatever was going on back then, 30, 40,000 years ago,
real deal.
Those people were probably insanely advanced in a completely different direction than we have gone today. And I think that if you wiped us out and left a few nomadic tribes of people and they repopulated the earth over the next 20,000 years, we'll probably figure out some completely new direction of technology. Yep. I think people get on a path, they innovate on that path, and then everybody sort of chips in on all the different inventions that have been previously established, and they make them better, and they refine them and make new versions of them and make better stuff. And then it keeps going and going and going in whatever direction some ever genius heads in. And there's probably some fucking insane geniuses 30, 40,000 years ago that figured out some stuff that we haven't figured out yet. And they probably were more advanced in that direction than we are today.
We can't even tell what happened in the case of that Spitzer there, what happened 200 years ago.
Right. Who are
Yeah.
those folks?
Who the fuck did that?
Right.
And why?
Well, do they think people were living there 200 years ago?
Nobody thinks nothing about nothing because Fairbanks wasn't there. Fairbanks wasn't discovered till 1902.
So they have no idea.
8 or 12% of the carbon dating, they say that they spread out a long timeline. 12%, I think, came in around 1600, late 1600s for that. Then it's in the 1700s, there's more. Then the early 1800s, and then pretty soon they have 95% certainty that it's 190 years old or something like that. But we can't even tell why, who, what, where, when.
Right.
200 years ago.
Yeah.
Give me 2,000. Well, we got Jesus over there with the shroud.
Right.
But somebody 500 years ago said, I'm going to make some money on this.
Right.
I'm going to get me some tourism business.
Now go 2,000 years before that, and then 2,000 years before that. And we have no evidence.
Then
You have the burning of the Library of Alexandria. All the records are destroyed.
Then go 20,000 years before that. Might as well really get going here.
Well, that's what's really crazy is that they find older stuff in Egypt that's buried under newer construction. So they build temples on top of older temples. And then as they excavate the sand, they find different construction methods that seem to indicate different ages. They do things differently back then. And as they get deeper, the things seem to be more sophisticated, more
Look at
difficult to make.
Yeah. Look at Austin. Tell me that's not going to happen here in 1,500 years.
Right.
Or any city in the country.
Yeah.
But we're only here for maybe 100 if we're lucky.
If we're lucky.
I'm thinking 100, you maybe not be that lucky. Maybe 80's better.
Depends. With modern science, I mean, they think that we're going to be able to live to be 150 and thrive.
I'm going to get me a clone going.
Yeah. Just download your brain into the clone. Imagine a 20-year-old John with the brain of you now. All spry and young.
I can tell Drew, I'm going to run on over the 966. I'm going to scamper on up the ladder, and then I'm running that sumbitch. But we translate it into that, Drew, I'm going to shuffle over to that machine over there. Can you lift me up with the loader to get inside it?
Right.
It's just, I had one shoulder out last year. I couldn't pull myself up a ladder. And I go, rotator cuff gone.
Got to get you some stem cells.
I just need a new me.
Well, we just
Got to clone me.
We also need to take care of the me that you got right now.
Yeah, I'm going to be around a while.
How long are you planning?
Another 15, 20 years.
That's it?
Yeah.
If you wanted to plan your life out, what would you want to happen with the boneyard over the next 15 to 20 years? What's ideal for you? Best case scenario.
To get all the bones back, first of all.
Why are you so concerned with those bones when you have so many?
Because they have so many more. So many more.
So they have more there than you have where you are.
They took, you got to remember there's 200 nozzles running. They took them all. They took hundreds and hundreds of thousands of bones to New York City. Hundreds of thousands. I've only got a couple 100,000. They took millions.
And they've got them all.
They got them, every one of them. And the guy that was their collector, excuse me, he was just a field hand on the Alaska Railroad. And they said, hey, you want to collect bones for us? He said, sure. So he ended up, when it was all said and done, with an honorary doctorate from the University of Alaska, who was in on it, by the way, on this tripartite agreement, and probably influenced by, Charles Frick, the son of the industrialist that used to shoot his laborers because they wanted more money in the steel industry. Yeah, Henry Frick was a prick.
Where was this?
In America. Look up Henry Frick.
He used to shoot his workers if they wanted more money?
He had a gang of gunmen come in when they were striking to make better wages. And he was killing them. This is in our steel industry.
What year was this?
It was on the Men Who Built America. That was on that show.
Ah.
He was the old man, so it was back when the steel industry was just getting going with Carnegie and those guys. Childs was his kid.
So here it is, a lifelong opponent of organized labor, and his refusal to allow union workers at his mines led to the infamous Homestead Strike of July in 1892, in which 10 men were killed and 60 wounded. The same month, Frick himself was attacked in a failed assassination attempt by a 25-year-old Russian anarchist. Wow. What did Frick do to his workers? In June of 1892, he slashed wages, evicted workers from their company houses, stopped negotiating with union leaders, and threatened to bring the Pinkertons, a detective agency for hire that amounted to a private army of thugs. Wow.
That's what he did, too.
Oh, man.
And the guy that, his kid, Childs, is the one that was head of AM&H. And he hired this guy, Geist, to go out and collect fossils in Alaska, and he just didn't limit himself to here. He went out to the West Coast.
It says Frick fired 2,500 of his workers and cut their pay in half of those who remained. At one point, he was named the most hated man in America. Wow. Fucking greed.
Unfucking believable.
Fucking greed. It's always been the fucking the bane of mankind.
Otto Geist went out to Nome and St. Lawrence Island and dig up babies out of the permafrost because they wouldn't decompose. He put them in pickle jars, sent them back to Henry or Charles Frick and AM&H. I've seen these jars of pickled babies, and now they're being repatriated. And 60 Minutes just had a big thing on Cambodia and all the things they stole out of there. AM&H and Smithsonian and all those guys are in on it. They just don't want to return them.
And they justify this based on the idea that they're the keepers of this historical record.
Yeah.
Natural history.
That was a good segment on 60 Minutes. I quit kind of watching them a long time ago, but this kind of piqued my interest. Because it's all about what they're doing. They're doing it right now. It's not like this has just happened in the past. These guys are like real-life Indiana Jones. Let's go out and plunder and bring it back home. Some of it gets to the museum. Some of it goes home. I've heard people that say they've been in Otto Geist's house in Europe. He's got all kinds of stuff in his house that came out of our boneyard area.
Really?
Out of Fairbanks. Yeah, skulls, short-faced bears, saber-tooth. Anyways, he ended up with a doctorate, and the street's named after him up in Fairbanks. Hey, you find a guy that's willing to do anything for anything. That's what they found. They found him. And Charles Frick had no problem. Look at his dad was a prick. That's Dad.
Yeah.
And you know what they say about...
Yeah. Apple in the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you ask what I want to do. I want to make things right, at least on the bones that came out of Fairbanks. I want the proof that men and animals lived together. It's there. Why they haven't studied those bones in 100 years, I don't know.
Do they have human bones at the M&H?
If they do, they don't talk about it. Well, of course, they're not talking to me.
Right.
They might talk to our legislature, though.
Boy, if they found out they've been holding on to human bones all this time, too.
Yeah.
They probably, the people that are there right now probably don't even go into those boxes. So if you're dealing with stuff from more than 80 years ago, well, who the fuck knows what's in there? It's all just stored, huh?
Well, there's a whole bunch of spear points they found out in Esther, which is one of my areas. This disappeared between Esther, Alaska, and New York City. Just disappeared for 15 fucking years. They found them in North Dakota because some guy was trying to track them down. And they got some of them back. But I've asked for reports on those. They haven't done any. Wait a minute. You guys were supposed to report on everything you took. You haven't done any of it. And that's my leg that I'm standing on. I could litigate this if I want to. I'm not afraid of that. But I wanted this to be a good story when I start off. We're bringing the bones back. We're going to make things right. We're going to study it. We're going to solve some issues. We're going to solve some historical questions. Let's all get together and do it the right way. Let's do the right thing for once.
Yeah.
No. Well, do you have the signed contract with notarized copies from 1928? Well, that's not how business worked back then. You had the Boston men who financed it through the United States Smelting and Refining Mining Company. Went to AM&H. AM&H, we'd love to get those bones. We'll go get them. But here's what you got to do. They didn't do it. So I'm saying give them back. And that's why the University of Alaska went with me to New York City and said, we want them back. but they know. They're in the business of fucking longevity, Jew. They know how long people live. Just outlast us some bitch. We're an institution.
Right.
We don't ever die.
Right.
People come in, they raise hell, then they go away. Well, that's probably true in my case, but Drew out there, go ahead, deal with him. He plays hardballs.
So your best case scenario is all this gets handled politically. You recover the bones, and then we start putting the bigger pieces of the puzzle together.
Exactly. You know, people want, send me these bones so I can carbon date them for you. Carbon date them up here.
Yeah.
Get your ass in Alaska and set up a research. I already built it for you, for Christ's sake. I spent $1 million doing it. It's done. I built it last year. I'm anticipating this. They're all coming back. I might not know how it's going to go, but I know how this is going to end. We're going to get the bones back in Alaska. So just stop doing this bullshit. Let's get it. Let's just do the right thing here, boys.
Is the hope maybe some of the younger scientists that are listening to this realize the potential of these discoveries and start working with you?
The problem is in organizations like that, the younger scientists don't want to ruffle feathers because that's a career ender for those guys. Oh, he raised hell with the uppity ups at Smithsonian or whatever museum. Stay away from this guy. And they all want to be successful in their careers, and I get it.
Right.
But maybe somebody out there goes, you know what? And there's a few of them out there. I've talked to a few of them. They can't go public.
Right.
And I don't blame them. They got to put beans on the table too.
Right.
But some of the plunderings that have gone on, Mongolia, that area, that's been plundered for their cultural artifacts. And the people that know about it are at the Museum of Natural History, and they can't say anything about it because they don't want to lose their job.
So these artifacts, do you think that there's just like these wealthy people that keep them in their homes and then just don't tell anybody about it? Because that was always the case with Egyptian relics, right? That because we don't even know how many tombs were raided over the several thousand years and where all those artifacts went and what happened. I mean, because we know that like when they found King Tut's, when they found all of his remains in the sarcophagus and all the gold line this and gold line that. Imagine people found that 500, 600 years ago, 1,000 years ago. Where'd all that stuff go? Like, did they melt it down? Was it more valuable as gold for them?
What's the coin of the realm? It's gold, right?
Yeah.
It's been the coin of the realm since the beginning of time. What's the oldest profession?
Prostitution.
That's right. You got the prostitution, you got the gold, and you got people that are willing to die for, one or both of those things. And so that's been the basis of conflict forever. You can melt all the gold down that's ever been mined on the planet. It's still here. It hasn't gone anywhere. You can't get rid of gold. You can't vaporize it. You can melt it, but it would fit in an Olympic-sized pool. That'd be all of it that's ever been mined.
Right, the whole world's
gold. And if you've been watching the price of gold in the last year, it's up 12% since you and I met last time, and it'll probably keep going because they buy it to hedge against inflation. Costco started selling gold bars.
Really?
Costco.
You can buy gold bars from Costco?
Gold bars from Costco, and they sell out as soon as they put them up for sale. They sold $100 million worth of them in the first quarter.
What? One gold bar, Swiss Lady Fortuna, Versican. Members only item, 24 karat gold. Item is not refundable, limit 2 per membership. Costco. Gold bars at Costco.com. What the fuck? Jamie, would you ever imagine that?
No, but do you remember this story from, where am I at here? This guy had a private collection in Indiana. He was 91 years old.
It says it was unlike anything we'd ever seen. Collection of stolen artifacts to be returned.
It's somewhere in the range of 5,000 different things just in his house in a small town in Indiana.
A delegation from China went to Indiana on Thursday to claim hundreds of artifacts that were seized from one man's private museum. He had items from all over the world, everything from ancient jewelry to human bones. Those Chinese artifacts were part of the 5,000 seized from a home from 90-year-old Don Miller, a man well known locally for his passion for collecting and global travels. He died in 2015.
He had
I remember seeing that
a
story.
super old Chinese weapon.
Wow, look at that. Look at that axe. Wow.
I'm trying to find more info on exact things that they pulled out of there, but I didn't find anything really great.
So there's probably dudes like this in Europe. It's probably dudes like this in Russia. Dudes like this in China.
Dudes
have
like
these-
this in the USA, man.
You think so?
Oh,
For this guy.
Yeah, this
For sure, this guy. At least one. Yeah, look at that hammer. The hammer and the axe. That's incredible.
that hammer's for splitting the skull open.
I'm sure. It's not for making a house.
2,000 human bones.
One dude. Yeah. He's not the only one. Yeah. How many of those dudes are connected somehow to the AMNH?
Well, there's just a story out recently where they have like 12,000 human bones they got to return to someplace.
Yeah, on this letter that they wrote, I was going to put this up, bro. This is a letter from this year in October. They're going to talk about what they're going to do with their human remains in storage. They have a lot, but
Wow.
where it came from, how they got it, this is a long letter. It's not super worth reading, but it does say that they have them.
Wow.
They pulled them out of exhibits. Some of them were given to them through like science. People
Listen to
donated
this
their
here.
bodies.
These remains were removed from a burial ground in the Inwood neighborhood of Manhattan during a city road construction project in 1903 to 1904 and accepted into the collection. Enslavement was a violent, dehumanizing act. Removing these remains from their rightful burial place ensured the denial of basic human dignity would continue even in death. Identifying a restorative, respectful action in consultation with local communities must be a part of our commitment. Wow. So for sure they've got some fucking human bones. I just want to know if they have some human bones that they got from your spot. Because if they did, I just think there's got to be some in there. If you've got spear points and you've got arrowheads, God damn it, you got to have some fucking humans in there.
I also, when looking up the American lion, in the Wikipedia it says that the AMNH got something from Alaska in the early 1900s.
A few additional discoveries came until 1907. The American Museum of National History and College, Alaska, collected several Panthera atrox skulls in a locality originally found in 1803 gold miners. How do you say that word? Kotzebue?
Kotzebue.
Kotzebue, Alaska. The skulls were referred to a new subspecies of Felis Panthera atrox in 1930. Felis atrox alaskanensis. Despite this, the species didn't get a proper description and is now seen as a nomen nudum synonymous with Panthera atrox. Further south in Rancho La Brea, California, is a large field skull. Is that no feline? I guess a felid skull was excavated and later described in 1909 by John C. Merriam, who referred it to a new subspecies of Felis atrox bebe. The subspecies is synonymous with Panthera atrox. Wow. Amazing.
That's what they pulled out of.
Whoa, look at that thing. Holy shit. Look at that thing. So that's the North American lion. Wow. And bigger than the African lion, which is wild.
We got a skull of that. Nice.
I bet you got a lot more of them under that ground, too.
Yeah. We might have stuff we don't always post,
I bet you do.
hypothetically speaking.
Hypothetically. I bet you do.
Yeah, it'd be a good bet.
You're allowed to. It seems like they should play ball.
They should.
I mean, it just seems like if you guys want to know some stuff, how about there's this one extraordinary area in Alaska that's produced an insane amount of artifacts.
Well, the bone rush you started.
You started it.
No, you started it.
I couldn't do it without you.
Hey, you know what? We're tied inextricably at the hip about this. I've had ample opportunity to be interviewed. I don't do it. I'm here with the greatest communicator on the face of the planet. And I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but I got an MS and BS. So you put me in here with you. If I don't know it, I'll make some shit up. But for the most part, I'm not kidding. Your ability to communicate is letting people throughout your listening world that there's something wrong here. And these people need to step up. After our broadcast, after our podcast last time, within 2 days, AMNH put out a press release denying this ever happened.
Well, that seems silly if you've actually visited the bones themselves.
Yeah, they denied the existence of that report that I read from. So I posted that cover today in case Jimmy wanted to look at it. That report was co-written by one of their own employees at AM&H. Now, come on, boys. You can bullshit everybody. You can't bullshit everybody.
This is a problem with archaeologists. This is a problem that they've found with trying to establish an earlier date for some of these Egyptian artifacts and the Temple of the Sphinx and some of these other things. That people do not want to give up any of the power they have in controlling narrative. Early man in eastern Beringia?
Yeah.
Beringia. Late Pleistocene and early Holocene artifacts and associated fauna recovered from the Fairbanks mining district in Alaska. Wow.
Yeah, look at that.
But that says early man.
Robert L. Evander.
So let's read. Yeah.
Paleontology Museum of Natural History. They wrote the report I read.
They wrote it. And what you said here is on your thing. It says this is the document AM&H said they have no record of. I read it on Joe Rogan podcast a year ago and identified the spot in the East River where the AM&H dumped approximately 50 tons of my company fossils back in 1949. It started a bone rush. Though it only took 2 days for AM&H to issue a press release denying it existed, note that one of the authors, an employee of AM&H, co-wrote it. My goal is to get the remainder of the collection still stored in their basement sent back to Alaska so the scientific research can be conducted on them. I'd like to see these elitist snobs hauled in front of Congress and testify under oath about their misdeeds. That process is underway. Alaska is not the only state nation that AM&H plundered archaeological, paleontological, anthropological, and cultural resources and artifacts from. They're doing a disservice for the people that want to understand things. I mean, they are a blockade to understanding how there is this area that you own that has this insane amount of bones. It's insane, and it's a massive mystery, and it's one thing that is so compelling to human beings that want to know, like, what is going on with the history of animals and the human race, and also with this theory, this Younger Dryas impact theory. If they can just do a core sample on that area that you have uncovered that's 80 feet down that shows all this carbon that seems to indicate massive amounts of fire and something big, as you said, something that came in hot, and that there's evidence of this all over the world now. Because of the research that's been done on this Younger Dryas impact theory, they know that there's a layer of iridium that exists that indicates that something from space, iridium, which is very common in space and very rare on Earth.
Yep.
There's a layer of this shit that indicates we got hit. And if you add that to what you have, this layer that shows some fucking insane event took place in your area that led to all that burning and all these fucking bones, man. How is this not something that they are actively collaborating with you and working together with the scientific community to get an understanding of how this took place?
Because I think it gets back to the whack-a-mole game. You know, some guy steps up and goes, I'll do it. And they go, well, you're not going to have work in the industry anymore.
Right.
Well, we're going to blackball you. You know, they're afraid to. It goes against the grain. They don't want to stick up for some dirt tramp in Alaska who's saying, come on, let's study this stuff. I already built the building for you. I did it already.
That is what's really crazy. You really did spend over $1 million to build a scientific
You saw the
research
pictures
building.
of it.
Yeah.
I got all the receipts in there. I mean, I got everything they need. Just bring the bones back, and I'll build another building just like it. You know, what do you want me to do? People go, well, have you carbon dated all your... No, it's not my job. Well, have you done this and have you done that? What are you asking me for? Why don't you call AM&H and ask them? They're the ones that are supposed to do this shit, not me. I don't have the skill set. I'm not a paleontologist. I'm just a simple fucking boner making my way through life. Well, super boner, actually, Joe.
Yeah. All you have to do is get one piece out and you're a boner.
Yeah.
I'd like to be a boner.
You're going to be a boner.
I need to be.
You need to come up, bring your friends with you.
Yeah.
We'll go out there and have a boner
We
party.
need to make a YouTube video.
Oh, yeah, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put you on the manual giant. There's a work out there.
Is it hard to hold on to?
Not really.
No?
You make it look like it is. You go, "Ooh," and it's really is. just move it around a little bit. My kids do it. I mean, my kids are the great support. My wife, we're all in on this.
It's just, to me, it's so strange that they continue to resist what it seems to be inevitable. And the more we talk about it, and the more millions of people hear about this, the more it will become inevitable.
Exactly.
This is a massive mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like a little bit of evidence. You have the most insane amount of evidence I think I've ever come across.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're all finding out about this because of social media, what a weird time to be alive.
Not just social media, the Joe Rogan experience.
Yeah, but I found out about it through Instagram. I don't even remember how I found your page.
Well, I'm glad you did. And I told you last time, it took me 3 years of saying I only talked to Joe Rogan about it. Knowing that's not ever going to happen, because I didn't want to talk to nobody about it. But when we talked about it, I got to tell you that my Instagram blew up. And went from like 40-something thousand people following my page. I think it's at 370,000 now.
Let's see what happens by this time next year when you come back again.
Sweet Jesus, I might build a political base. I might have enough people that can contact their legislators.
Well, that's the hope. The hope is that if we can continue to highlight this and could just continue to show people this is really important stuff, and there's a reason why people are so fascinated by it. And we have all been fascinated by the history of the human race and the history of animals and the history of whatever caused these extinction events. We're all fascinated by this. And they're doing a disservice to humanity by not exploring this further and by not playing ball.
Yep.
They should play ball. They should get involved in this, and they should do so in an honorable way where you don't have to bring in politicians. This should be something that, as educators and as these are the curators of this information. These are the people we turn to. This is one of the most prestigious institutions in the world when it comes to natural history.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And they're not doing themselves a service doing this. This is a big disservice. And did you just invite me back for next year?
Let's do it again.
I gladly accept.
Let's have this an annual thing to see how much progress we make.
As long as I'm the last podcast of the year,
yes,
I'm down.
That's our tradition. You are the last podcast of 2023. You'll be the last podcast of 2024.
Thank you, sir.
We're gonna, my sincere hope is that they come to their senses and they do this in an amicable way where everybody realizes, like, this is important. It's bigger than everybody. This is good for the AMNH. This is good for the scientific community. It's good for the curious people like myself. It's good for the world. We really should find out what the fuck is going on and what happened.
Yeah.
And I think you have a massive piece of the puzzle, sir, and it's extraordinary. And I'm very happy that you're the guy.
Yeah.
You got some hard-nosed motherfucker who doesn't give a shit, who is willing to stick his neck out and tell the truth, and also to show the world, like, just the evidence that you have on your page. Just that bone with the human face carved in. Shut the fuck up. You know somebody carved that.
Yep.
Stop playing games. What is it? Just the fact that you've got sawed bones. Like, who did that? Just the fact that you've got an insane amount of woolly mammoth tusks and bones and all these animals that they said aren't even supposed to have been in Alaska, and they clearly were.
Yep.
Like, there's a mystery there, folks.
There is a mystery, and it's being played out not only on my Instagram page, where it's the only place, but with you. This is, if you want to know about it, you got to come here. You got to listen to the Joe Rogan Experience, because I ain't talking to the so-called mainstream media. I'm not interested in being a story one night by some guy sitting in a studio that's never even gotten dirt under his fingernails. You come out here and you walk around in this shit, motherfucker, and you listen and you smell what we're dealing with here. This is the Ice Age, baby. We live in the Ice Age. People say, think outside the box. We live outside that sumbitch. If you're in the Ice Age all day, it changes you. Maybe it makes you fucking crazy. I don't know. But
I think you might have been a little crazy to start with.
I think so.
I think that's why the universe chose you to own that land. I really do.
Either that or the universe says, we need some prick out there. That's our guy.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people just wouldn't have gone through the lengths that you've gone through. They wouldn't have been so stubborn and determined. And also, just the fact that a guy like you is exactly the type of person that you need to do all this work. It's got to be a guy like you. A regular person is not going to be so dedicated to this.
You know, this is, like I said, this is my cause. Last year I said, okay, everybody, it takes a mammal 21 seconds to take a leak. That was a great contribution to mankind's knowledge, because I got a lot of people going, you're right.
I timed myself the other day. I pissed for 35 seconds, though.
Did you? And somebody else said, hey, I pissed for 55 seconds.
If guys that drink beer, I guarantee you they could.
But see, I like to think that people can still think.
Yeah.
So I like to think that there's a certain degree of what you do goes into the presentation of what you do. It's in the presentation. Can I give you an example?
Sure.
3 guys go fishing in Valdez. They leave Fairbanks. They drive down to Valdez. They get in there late, and they need a hotel room. So the clerk says, I only got 1 room left. It's kind of nasty. It's got two cots and a couch. How much is it? $30. So each guy pulls out $10 out of his wallet and gives it to him. Gives them the key, and they go to their room. The night clerk comes in a little bit later, the night manager. He says, hey, boss, we rented that last room out. He says, all right, what'd you get for it? He goes, $30. He goes, you overcharged him by $5. He gave him 5 once. He says, take it back to the room and give it to him. So he goes back to their room, knocks on their door, and he gives each guy $1, right? Okay, and he kept $2 in his pocket. He said, fuck, they don't know they overpaid. So let's do the math on this one. They each spent $9 now, right?
Okay.
Well, what's 3 times 9?
27.
Yeah, and he kept $2, right?
Right.
27 plus 2 is 29. Where the fuck did that other $1 go?
I don't know. Why are we worrying about $1? I'm not sure where you're going with this.
It's the presentation. Where did it go? They paid $30. They got $1 back, and
Right.
the clerk kept $2. Where I'm going is it's the presentation. It's the story. It's the way you tell it. $29 is not $30. They spent $30 when they walked in.
Right.
But where did that other $1 go?
I don't give a fuck about that $1. I don't understand where you're going with this.
Where I'm going with it is I'm throwing this out there for the people that listen to this show going, that don't make sense.
Right.
It doesn't make sense, Joe. They go, what the fuck? Maybe you're thinking that right now. What the fuck? Where'd that $1 go?
I'm definitely not thinking that.
I know you're not.
I'm thinking, where are you going with this?
I'm not
Story
going
about
anywhere.
those
I'm
3
talking
guys.
about the presentation.
I understand.
You know, and sometimes things get lost to the presentation. Mm-hmm. You know, AM&H can say, well, we did this, we did that, we did the other thing.
There's no evidence of this letter.
Yeah, nothing happened. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where that other $1 went.
Well, I think for the longest time, they have become accustomed to being the ones who are the gatekeepers of information. And when it comes to this kind of information, a little press release here, a little statement here has been adequate. They've been able to cover their tracks. But in this age of information, that's not good enough anymore.
No, it's not. And it's like I said, it's the way it's laid out. I'm laying it out as clearly as I can to these guys. You have the opportunity to do the right thing.
And it's the right thing for all of the curious human beings that deserve access to that information, because it's a part of the human story. It's a part of the story of the earth. It's a part of the story of the animals. It's a part of the story of your land.
Yep.
It's a part of the story of probably the impact theory that wiped out massive amounts of animals and human beings. And I think you've got a piece of the puzzle.
We have 20 pieces of the puzzle. It's 1,000 pieces I want. I won't get them all because I know a bunch of them were stolen.
Well, let's hope that by this time next year, things have progressed. And when we talk about it in December of 2024, for the last podcast of 2024, let's hope we've got some good news for people.
Yeah, and when I got a hold of you and I said, I don't know if I have anything, you know, I was trying to give you an out, like, just in case he's got nothing for me. I was trying to manage expectations is what I was trying to do. A lot of people liked my podcast with you last time.
They're going to like this one too.
And I just don't want to disappoint you or disappoint the people that follow you or listen to these stories because, frankly, some of them might not be interested in it.
A lot of them are, and I think a lot of them now are invested in this. And specifically since when the bone rush yielded results, and now people know it's true.
Yeah.
Undeniably.
Yeah.
Undeniably. Steppe bison, jawbones, they're not supposed to be at the bottom of the East River exactly where you said to look for them.
And
what are the odds of that?
And don't forget what I told you about there's other people out in the river.
Yeah.
We're talking. If I have a guy come up and go, hey, I want to go prospect this creek, and I say, okay, go ahead and prospect it, and they go prospect it, and it comes in really hot. It's good. But somebody else comes along, I'm not going to send them to that creek. The other guy's already there. So there are things happening in the East River that spread all over the place. This guy might find this guy might find that, these other guys might find that. I'm not going to tell any of them anything. You go about your business. I'm not going to divulge any confidential information to anybody. Just keep looking. I don't envy him for it. We don't have to look. We go get coffee. We go drive out there. And we pick up a tusk. Coffee's still too hot to drink. These guys got to get on a boat, go out in the East fucking River, put on scuba gear, go down there with zero visibility. That ain't easy.
How are they finding them?
I don't know. My daughter out there, Lauren, she went on the boat with them, I think, last year. She was in New York, and she went along for the ride. And that ain't easy work.
No.
But I hope they find them.
I hope they do too. I hope they hit the mother lode.
Me too. And I will tell you this: the mother lode is still out there. I know that.
We're going to piece it all together, my brother.
We are, and we're going to talk about it next year.
See you in a year.
Yes, sir. You're the man.
You're the man.
You're the man.
No, you're the man.
You're the man.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you very much.
My pleasure.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.